This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sob like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. And ladies and gentlemen, yeah, Jarrell, we're back. I was able to jump on a little bit earlier just to talk a little bit about Tom Thibodeau being ousted as the head coach of the New York Knicks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into it and break it down. Crazy business, man. Crazy. We didn't even get a chance to assess the season yet. As content creators, we didn't even get a chance to assess the season. And Tibbs is out. But this tells me that they have a clear plan, as to what they're doing. And they probably already have the replacement in mind. You know what I mean? So, let's get into it, man. I got my brother, as always, T. Crow in the building. Tony? Okay, first of all, I didn't even know what happened. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the office, and my lovely lady sends me a text that says, "Did you see this?" Right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Let me check and make sure this isn't, people like to play jokes. So I go on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I see it, and I'm like, what the hell? So I texted her. I was like, nah, it's not a joke. I was like, that's serious. And I'm just like, wow. So all I could say was, wow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's hilarious to me that she broke the news to you.
She broke the news to me. Yeah, she broke the news to me. I didn't even break it to her. She broke the news to me.
Salute to her. I don't know if you say her name.
Maggie Fresh.
So,
Maggie Fresh.
okay.
It's Maggie Fresh on YouTube. Maggie Fresh.
Salute Megan.
You know what I'm saying? She broke the news to me. I'm like, what the hell? They fired him? We didn't even get a chance to assess the season. Nothing. And he's gone as the head coach of the New York Knicks. Crazy. And for those who may not have seen, and the fact that they came out with an announcement like almost immediately lets you know that this was well in the works before any media got to it.
It was in the works before the series ended.
Had to be. And
the rumors were out there before the series ended. But I thought it was just, media trying to mix for clicks.
You know what I'm saying? It's here's what Leon Rose had to say. Our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. This is a very interesting statement to me. Right? We can't thank Tom enough for pouring his heart and soul into each and every day of being the New York Knicks head coach. He led us not only with class and professionalism for the past 5 seasons, but also to tremendous success on the court with 4 playoff berths and 4 playoff series victories. Ultimately, we made the decision we feel is best for the organization moving forward. Tom will always be a part of our Knicks family, and we truly wish him nothing but the best in the future. Right in the beginning, he says, we're singularly focused on winning a championship. So this tells you that the management team, the front office just didn't believe that Tom Thibodeau could lead them to a championship. Right? What else? I mean, obviously they fired him, so they didn't think that he could lead them to a championship. But to put it here, right, to say our focus is to win the championship, and this pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we have decided to move in another direction, means that he's telling not only Tom Thibodeau, he's telling the world that one of my closest friends, I don't think he can win a championship with this basketball team. That's what he's saying to everybody, right? You know, yeah. It's just interesting to me. You know what I mean? There's, sometimes people would say something like, we've decided to move on from Tom Thibodeau, and not even give the reason why. We decided to move on from Tom Thibodeau. It's in the best interest for him. It's in the best interest for the organization. Here's our plan moving forward. But they made it a point to say, we're focused on a championship, and because of that, we decided to
and again, I don't know if that was their expectation going into the season, but just like us fans, you know what I mean, and the media, once we took care of Boston, all the talk was about the finals.
Right.
You know what I mean? We skipped over Indiana. We skipped over talking about Indiana for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we was talking about the finals, and so I think I think their expectation rose as the playoffs went on, and to me it boils down to the Indiana series. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. You know what I mean? And they really must have felt that. I mean, Tom Thibodeau was obviously outcoached. I think all of us have mentioned that and said that. He was obviously outcoached. They clearly felt that he was outcoached as well. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that is the reason why they just don't feel like he is the one. He's the guy that can, get him over the top, get him to a championship. Puts a lot of pressure on the next coach.
I was just about to say that, Sim. I was just about to say the expectations on the next coach have risen, and we don't even know who it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's is Eastern Conference Finals acceptable moving forward, or does it have to be finals and or win it? You know what I'm saying?
I think for the next coach, and we'll go ahead and get into just more stuff about Tom Thibodeau, but I think just quickly, I think that for the next coach, there's going to be a grace period. It has to be.
Are they going to say that publicly?
No, I don't think so. They're going to say that. I think they'll say the expectation is a championship. A championship. I don't know if they'll give like a time. You know what I'm saying? But I think there would have to be some kind of grace period. At least a year to give that person the chance to.
But I think they have to publicly say that, because if they already said what the expectation is, and you say you don't think Tibbs could do it, and you're not giving him a second year with a new team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you not publicly give the grace period? Because the expectations for us is win now,
right? Based
off of what you said,
right?
You know what I mean? You didn't say a window. You didn't say, you know what I mean? So I think it puts a lot of pressure on the next coach to perform out the gate.
To perform out the gate. You know what I mean? And it's going to be tough. Now, it's going to be tough for that coach to perform. I mean, they're going to perform out the gate because there's talent on the team. So they're going to perform. Are they going to perform at a championship level? We'll see. Because that coach is going to come in with their philosophy. on how they want to use the players. So now you've got to break some habits that the players have. Well, you may not have to break habits, but you got to at least develop new habits, right? With whatever it is that coach wants, you got to develop those kind of habits. You know what I mean? So it's definitely it's a shocker. It's a shocker. It's straight up a shocker. You know what I mean? I didn't expect that Tom Thibodeau was going to be here forever. I didn't expect that there wouldn't be a time when he could be let go. I didn't expect it to happen now. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, Leon Rose and the coach in the front office feel that someone else is going to do better. Did they even do exit interviews yet with the players?
Somebody referenced Deuce McBride, but I haven't been on YouTube or anything to watch anything, so I'm not sure
Right.
if
because if they haven't done exit interviews, John Smith said they did. I hadn't heard anything about. I don't. Oh, maybe they did. Obviously you would get some things from those exit interviews. But there's a ton of questions that I have. A ton of questions. I'd have a ton of questions. Before we even get in those questions, though, I just want to get thoughts from the fans. So call in 516-362-5212. Call in. I want to get thoughts from the fans. I want to get in the chat, just from everybody. What are you thinking and how do you feel? And then we can really start getting into why, the ramifications, and all that kind of stuff. So I got Spree on the line. You know what I mean? Spree, what's poppin' with your brother? Talk to me.
Sam, Tony, it's never dull in New York Knicks land. That's for sure.
Ever.
Never. I'm not surprised. I mean, I get from an optics perspective, it's our first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. But yes, you have to take a step back. There's disappointment, but I think it makes sense. I know it sounds crazy, but I really think it makes sense. The window is not as big as everybody's making it out to be. They don't have a lot of time. And I feel like with what we saw this year, I get it was year one of this team. I did not like, and this is just who Tibbs is. He doesn't like to experiment. I know he went to it in the playoffs and he let some bench guys play. I get all that. In the regular season, he does not play his bench nearly enough. The starters play too much. The lineup never changes. He's played the same starting lineup all year. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns was used. His gift is shooting the basketball. I do not believe that they emphasized, they played enough of the 5-out spacing that I think can be within a modern NBA with a modern coach. And again, I don't know if they've had the exit interview, Sim, but some of the comments throughout the year, like Mikal Bridges, remember his comment in the middle of the season when he said, I'm tired, we could be, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did say that. I mean, I don't think Deuce McBride after the game, I don't know who he was talking about, but he said, we kind of got exposed for what's been happening all year. Like he had some comments. I don't know if he's talking about Tibbs. I don't know if he's talking about Cat. And also Cat in the Detroit series, he was getting tons of questions about, well, you're not shooting from three, about his role on the team. And he's like, well, I'm just playing my role. It's coach's decision. And I don't know, man. We'll find out if it works or not, but they clearly do not believe, based on the press release you just read to me, that Tom Thibodeau is going to take this team to the championship. That's clear. It's clear. Bottom line, you don't do that. And they have a small window. They don't have enough time to play games and give another year. Like if they feel strongly that this is the move, and I personally would like to see it's got to be the right coach. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they have somebody already lined up. but I think they need a more of a modern NBA coach that's going to experiment, play different lineups, use the regular season I think, a better way than Tibbs does it. Not every game is the NBA championship. And then in the playoffs can adjust better than I think Tibbs can, especially offensively. Now, there's some holes to the roster that are obviously you're never going to make Brunson and Cat good defenders, so we have to do some things depth-wise, and I don't know if Cat's getting traded. We'll see. I don't think he is. I think they're going to run this back. They're going to add depth, and they're going to try to get an elite coach, especially offensively, and see if they can win a championship. That's my belief.
Yeah. We're going to see. It's going to be if the Knicks aren't better next year, what happens?
When you say better, you mean like in the playoffs or regular season?
Both.
Just like
both. Just all around.
Well, that's a problem. That would be a really big problem. Then we may be having conversations about Leon Rose in the front office, but they clearly believe that they're going to be a lot better with a new coach, and it's going to make a difference when it really matters. Like, again, we won 51 games in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do not feel like, to many people, that's a really good year. You won more than 50 games. But I didn't really feel going into the playoffs. Let's be honest. Okay, none of us had us beating Boston, but did you really feel good about this Knicks team, the way they played all year? Did you feel Bridges was up and down? Some of it you blame Bridges, but did we really feel like Mikal Bridges, we got the most out of him and his capabilities in the offense? Did we feel like Cat was maximized? You know, some of it, Brunson's got to change a little bit how he plays. I'm not blaming just the coach, okay? But I just didn't feel good enough about the team going into the playoffs, the way they played all year. And so, I don't know, man. They needed to do something. They don't have I'll just keep going back to this, Sim. This is not they don't have 5 years to win a championship. This is another 2 to 3 years. They got to get it done. This is a 2 to 3 year project, in my opinion, to try to finally break through and win it.
Can wait 2 or 3 years from that press statement. It sounds like they want it now. They want it this year.
Yeah,
that's the way it sounds.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I wanted this year too. I'm just saying. I don't think if they bring Tibbs back this coming season, right, and say it doesn't work out and they fire him, then that means you only got. I mean, I guess they believe they may have a coach in mind. They say we got two.
They do.
I know they want to win it next year, but they got to have a coach in mind.
They got somebody in mind, because if they didn't have somebody in mind, I don't think he gets fired.
Somebody in mind.
He doesn't get fired.
I think they have somebody in mind. It's just not. It just don't got a date on it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Word. They got somebody in mind. You know what I mean? And you know, they would. I don't think they make this move without having someone in mind. With someone definite in mind, like, yep, this is who we want. I don't think they make this move and saying, okay, now we got to go find somebody. I think they know who they want. And maybe have already had conversations with that person, like Tony said.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, we can all have different opinions on how we think, how long we have to win it. They're trying to move faster. Like, you got to find a way to break through and get one. We didn't break through this year. We got farther, but
that's not.
They believe they've seen enough of Tibbs. Okay. They know what he is, and they think offensively. Because if the Knicks are ever going to win a championship with this current group, yeah, you want to add more depth to the bench, but it's got to be off. You got to be more of an offensive type of team if this is the personnel you have with Brunson and Cat. Period.
Yeah, I mean that, you know, that could be true. You know, you got to be an offensive type of guy. You know, I'll say this: it is peculiar that, and we'll talk about this a little bit, you know, later, because I want to get some more calls in, and see what other people think. It is very peculiar to me that Tom Thibodeau has been let go from two teams in which he coached Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat yesterday or earlier today, pardon me, said Towns did it again.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, and it could be because of the clashing styles.
Possible,
if that's
man.
the case, I don't see
Cat being.
You say you don't, right. Cat wouldn't be moved If that's the case, Cat wouldn't be moved.
I think there's a greater chance correct. I think there's a greater chance of Cat not being moved today than there was yesterday based off of this move. I think Cat's staying now. That's just I think that makes more to me. I think they're running it back. They're going to add more. I still think they need another ball handler in the backcourt, whether it's the bench or a starter, to more fit. But they're going to run this thing back with a new coach, see what happens. I don't think Kevin Durant or Giannis are coming here. I think they're going to add depth to the bench, get some players that can really help us, and just get a completely different philosophy from a coaching perspective. That's how I think Leon Rose is thinking right now.
Yeah, I guess my thing with Cat is not that Cat said I don't like him, or Cat said I want him fired, or Cat did anything like that. I'm not insinuating that at all.
They see the fit.
The fit between the two, the conflict between the two. I think that might be part of the issue.
I mean, also, to be honest, let's be fair about this. Like, how long has Tibbs been here? He's been here, what, 5 years?
5 seasons.
Was this year 5?
5 seasons.
He's been here 5 years. Now, you want to say this past year was obviously the most talented roster he had. Absolutely. But I feel like you have a pretty good sense of what a guy is when he's been here that long. And 5 years in the NBA is actually pretty long, considering the life cycle of a coach in today's NBA. I'd have to check out what the average is, but that's pretty good.
Spree, before you go, and Sam, I want you to answer this as well.
Mm-hmm.
What did they see this year that they didn't see last year when they decided to extend him?
Right. They extended him.
What did they see this year that they didn't see? Because remember,
he signed a 5-year deal. They don't extend him. His contract expired after this season anyway. They extended him.
That's true. They did.
They extended him.
What I will say to that's a good question. That's fair. All I can say, the only thing I can say to that is I think this roster this past year was, from a talent perspective, like I think they looked at it as, Tibbs deserved it because he maximized other teams, like with rosters that didn't have this type of talent on the Knicks as currently constructed. I don't care what anyone says. It's a top 5 talented roster in the NBA. I don't care what anybody says.
I think we should wait until we get the next coach to see if that's actually true.
Okay, I think it can be. That's just my opinion.
Because
but we'll see. Maybe I'm speaking prematurely, but they clearly think that this past year, to answer the question, Tony, I think they looked at this current group of talent. They, for whatever reason, as much as they respect Tibbs, and Tibbs is a good bet. Like, there's no question. Like, we saw what he did with Randall, Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton. But there are certain guys that there's a difference between getting to the playoffs and maximizing teams in the regular season, and then there's a difference between Eric Spoelstra's of the world, the elite guys that can just win at the next level offensively and defensively and make the adjustments. And for whatever reason, this has happened to Tibbs at other stops. I don't know, man. They feel like they needed to move quickly and go somewhere different.
And how much of it too is, I don't want to say the fault of the front office, but they made a move just before training camp, right? Where you changed. Now, you had a roster that, as a coach and as a coaching staff, you sat all summer and designed how to use this roster, and then all of a sudden, your personnel changes. And now you've got to come up with an entirely new design just before training camp. How much does that play a part?
As far as the move, when they made the Cat move, you're saying?
Yeah.
And Bridges?
Because all summer, you're looking at Brunson and Randall and Bridges and OG and Mitch and DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Deuce. You're looking at that 8, and you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to use this 8. This is what I think we can do against Boston. This is what I think we can do against Cleveland. This is what I think we can do against Indiana. This is what I think we can do against these teams. This is what we can do. And then all of a sudden, bam, Cat's here. Randall and DiVincenzo is gone. And you're looking and saying, all right, now I got a week or whatever it is to design something that I spent all summer looking at film, breaking down my players, trying to figure out the best way to use them. Now I got a week.
I mean, that's
much-
fair.
how much does
That's
that take-
definitely
how
fair.
much-
But the only thing I can say that is this is in today's NBA. These trades happen quick a lot of the times. Now, maybe not like this. That I agree with you. It was kind of sudden right before the year. I mean, the Cat trade was literally like a day before media day. I forget, but
2 days.
I hear you. I mean, that's fair. To Tim's fair point, those trades were made quick, but I just keep going back to, guys, Julius Randle shot more 3-pointers than Karl Anthony Towns this year. I still don't feel like this group was played the right way, and some of it is the players too. You say there's pressure on the next coach. Absolutely, there's pressure on the next coach, but there's pressure on these players too. The same team. You fire Thibodeau, you better believe there's going to be real pressure on these players next year. Yeah. So it is what it is, man. I'm not as surprised as some people, but I hope they get the right guy, man. And they're trying to do it. So we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. You know what I'm saying? Time will tell. Very interesting, man.
Very interesting.
Spree, appreciate it, brother.
All right, man. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Peace. Sim, this is why I don't think there's a grace period for the next coach. Everything you just said about the circumstances in which, now granted, yeah, he's been here 5 years, but this is the first year with this team coming in with I'm assuming the next coach is going to have more time than Thibodeau had to design whatever he wants to design.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how would the new coach get a grace period, but they don't let Tibbs run it back?
Right.
So that's where it gets funny with me. Like I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't think the next coach gets a grace period, especially with the comments they put out. With the, you know what I mean? It's championship.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna say to the fan base if you don't win a championship, or if, even worst case scenario, you don't even make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Right.
Are you gonna say, oh, this is this coach's first year? We're you know what I mean? He's figuring it out, the new team, and are you gonna say that? Or are you gonna fire him? You know what I mean? Like, are you gonna bring coaches in on 1-year deals? You know what I mean? Like, all right, let's get it done, or are we moving on? So I don't know if there's a grace period for the next coach.
And the only thing, well, I want to get Steph's thoughts, and then we got a call on the line, and then I'm gonna leave for about 20 minutes. Let's take over for about 20 minutes as I just got a call that I gotta jump into. Steph, what are your thoughts?
You know what, Sam? I have mixed feelings. So when I was on with Tony earlier, I was like, you know what? From a basketball standpoint, I get it. Maybe they looked at this Indiana series, looked at some of the decisions Thibodeau made or didn't make, and felt like he's not our guy. Like, he's not the guy that's going to win us a championship, just given the decisions he made in this series. Then, you wonder how much of it is him being scapegoated, not giving him the opportunity to kind of learn from his mistakes in this series and perhaps extend his bench next year. Can you guys hear me? Because I know my audio could be a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. To give him another opportunity to get it right. So I was more sure earlier, Sim. Now I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah. It's it's, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it either. You know what I'm saying? I'm not exactly sure what to think about it because the timing, I do know this. With the timing of it, I can only feel that they have somebody in mind. They know who they want, right? When you look at the timing of it, I thought the statement was just a little peculiar, and then they say we were focused on the championship, and because we're focused on the championship, we're firing Tom Thibodeau, right? I
Right.
mean, it's like they're just straight out saying we don't think he's the guy to get us there, and it's telling the rest of the coaching world, the rest of the NBA, this is not the guy to get you a championship. You know what I'm saying? It feels like that. According to Ian Begley, though, according to Ian Begley, he said the way the Knicks conducted their season-end review of the organization was different than normal, as top players on the roster were called into meetings that owner James Dolan was also present at. Eventually, those reviews led to the Knicks deciding to move on from Tom Thibodeau as the head coach. So apparently he lost the faith of the players somewhere along the line. He lost the faith of the players. You know what I mean?
I knew it smelled funny.
Yeah.
I knew it smelled funny. There's no way this wasn't Dolan.
Yeah.
Well, but Tony, is that Dolan or is it the players? He asked the players. If the players gave him a ringing endorsement, maybe he's back. He asked them. He pulled them in and asked them. How I'm seeing it is they didn't give him a ringing endorsement.
Right. They didn't. Right. They didn't. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give him that ringing endorsement, and
So let me ask this.
Yeah.
Never mind. Cancel what I was going to say because I'm just go ahead. I'll get back to it.
Yeah, it's Steph, how much do you think Cat, not that he had anything to do with it, but because Tom Thibodeau and Cat don't really mesh style wise, how much do you think that had to play into it?
I think it had to play into it a lot. And I think we underestimated, or at least I underestimated, Brunson's voice, right? Because unless it was all Cap, as Tony pointed out, it could have been at that press conference, you would think Brunson is all in on Tom Thibodeau. And if Brunson is all in on Tom Thibodeau, that's all that counts. However, I was listening to, was it Kendrick Perkins, who said that Leon Rose and Worldwide West know Cat all the way back to the Kentucky days.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted him, they wanted him here. So now I'm starting to think maybe Cat being unhappy may have had something to do with it. Maybe Leon Rose pushing his chips to the middle of the table with Cat, looking at Tom Thibodeau as not the guy that's going to make this free agent signing look good. So either one of those could be a reason. Either one of those Cat related reasons could be why Tom Thibodeau is out the door.
Yeah, definitely could be.
I don't know if I asked you earlier, Queen, but if so, for Sim, what does this mean for Rick Brunson, in your opinion? A guy who's obviously been with Thibodeau everywhere he's went. And I think no matter what decision they make with him, optically, it's gonna look some kind of way, one way or the other. If they let him go as well, you know what I mean? The question is, how does Brunson feel about that? And then if they keep him, like and keep, I mean, I'm not even talking about as a head coach. We could talk about that at some point later, whatever. But if they keep him, now they're forcing the next guy to have a guy on their staff that isn't necessarily part of their tree.
Yeah.
So what do you think it means for Brunson, though?
I think Rick Brunson is going to be here. I think Rick Brunson is also a Leon Rose hire, right? I think Leon Rose was Rick Brunson's first agent, right? So
first client,
right? Rick Brunson was Leon Rose's first client. So I think he's going to be here. Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be here.
And
Yeah.
you're cool with it, like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm definitely cool with it. You know what I'm saying? What about you, Steph?
Listen, I'm cool with it because this is what I was gonna say, Sam. I'm wondering if this, as much as we talk about Brunson's power over the coach, is Cat now wielding more power than Brunson when it comes to the coach, and it's keeping his dad like an appeasing, factor. We letting your coach go, but we're gonna keep your pops.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's something. I don't know, man. Let me get to a phone call real quick, and then after this call, I'm gonna jump off for a second, and we can handle some things in the chat. Caller, you live. Name me where you're from, please.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Jason Benjamin.
Jason, what's going on, man? What's poppin' with you, bro?
Crazy. How y'all doing, Steph? How you doing?
I'm good.
Salute. The other JB.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, it's been a while. I know I super chat a lot of you guys on each one of your
Appreciate
podcasts. I needed to take some time, man, after that loss to Indy, man. It really watching Halliburton hoist that trophy, man. I was kind of tight, so I needed some time to decompress a little bit from the series. So I appreciate you guys taking my call. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
yes.
Little scratchy, but we can hear you.
Okay. Hold on. Let me. I'm gonna take you off Bluetooth. My bad.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah, much better.
All right. My bad. So yeah, a few things, man. First of all, great season. I felt we left a lot of meat on the bone as far as just different things throughout the year. The fact that we even made it to the conference championship round with a team that was put together, like I stated before on every one of y'all shows. To me, that was I don't want to say incredible, but for a team put together right before training camp, that to me was impressive in my eyes, at least in my opinion. So kudos to the team. We fell short, but sometimes those things happen in your quest to become a champion. As far as today, man, I don't want to say I don't think I was too surprised by it. Two things while I was watching the series, and I remember I talked to Sim game one of the series, the things I was looking for. And my opinion is, I think Tibbs lost his, and Tibbs was first of all, Tibbs has been great for us the last 5 years. He's been our best head coach in Van Gundy. So, all kudos to him. I have nothing bad to say in terms of him as a person. We've all had some of our dislikes of how he runs the team, but for the most part, he's been awesome. So kudos to him. He got a nice extension last year. I'm sure he's not crying too much about it. But back to the Knicks, I think he lost his job after games 1 and 2 of the Pacers game. I know the players have a part to play in that, but man, subbing Brunson back in the game at that point when we was up and we didn't need to trade buckets, we already had the lead. That to me was, and I don't want to sound crazy, but to me at that time, that was like, all right, he's on the hot seat right now. And I don't know if y'all remember game 2. I forgot what minute mark it was, but I think it was the 4th, if my memory serves me correctly. And we needed defense at the time. And instead of putting McBride in, he puts Cam Payne in. And even at that point, I was yelling at my TV like, yo, come on, bro. Like, we don't need Cam chucking up threes right now. We need defense, and we need, somebody that could calm the offense down. Cam was too helter-skelter for me. So I think with the front office at those games watching it, they probably said to themselves, outside of our personal relationship with this gentleman, can he get us to the title? And evidently, today they made a decision, and I think his fate was sealed. I think his fate was sealed after the games 1 and 2. Especially that game 1 collapse was just crazy to me.
Can I ask you a question?
With that much time left on the game.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think his fate was sealed by the front office after game 1 or 2? 1 and 2, or because the players lost faith in him after games 1 and 2?
And Steph, it could be both, maybe. But with World West there and Leon there and Dolan there, sometimes you have to put yourself in a position as front office or ownership. When they see things like that, they're not only evaluating the coach, the players, but they're evaluating the coach, the head coach, and the coaching staff. So when you have a collapse like that in that game 1, and we never recovered from it, I don't care what nobody tell you. In my opinion, I felt like how Boston fans felt. It's like once we stole them 2 games, it kind of took the life out of them. Yeah, they made a little comeback in game 5, just like we did. But by that time, Indiana was sky high. Their confidence was on another level. It was going to be a gargantuan task to come back and win a game 7 at the Garden.
Hey, Jason,
they gave their best foot at game 5, not to be embarrassed, not to get gentlemen swept. But they went back to Indy. You could tell they had no energy left. There was just nothing else they could give. Their legs, it looked like their legs were shot to me. But in my opinion, to me, that's what lost him his job.
Okay. Hey, and Jason, let me jump in.
And another thing. Go ahead,
Jason.
Let me jump in for just a second. I gotta grab a call real quick. I did. Steph and Tony put just a little question in the private chat. That you can ask after. Afterwards. So I'm gonna step off just for about 10-15 minutes.
Yep. All right. We can't work the phone, Sim, so you're gonna have to hang up from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, when he hangs up, you can just
Appreciate
go ahead.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to hang up? All right, my bad.
No.
You
can stay on.
You can stay on. You can stay on.
When you hang up, you know what I mean? We just won't take any calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until Sim's back.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, peace. Go ahead, Jason.
No,
sorry about that.
You could continue what you were saying, Jason.
Yep. And and another thing, man. I've been on this. I rock with you guys, Steph, Tony, Sim.
Yes.
All the MBK family, all the fans that call y'all, listen intently every day. I try to catch all of y'all shows, even Jeff, his website, right? Yes. And I said it throughout the year, right? The lack, and there's another part where I think maybe Leon Rose and Dolan, them guys are like, okay, people have complained about Brunson and Cat's defense, right? And everybody's spot on. They're not good defenders. That's not even debatable, and that's not what I'm even going to talk about, right? We all know that. It's no way around it. But in my opinion, when you have those 2 players, your calling card now, in my opinion, yes, you want to make timely stops. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that defense should just be non-existent. But when you have those 2 players, your identity now, in my opinion, needs to be a strong offensive team, right? You know what your best defense is? When you're a good offense, your offense can be a good defense too, right? So you have to lean into the offense. And maybe Leon and Dolan and World Wide West, they said to themselves, at this point in his career, do we expect Tom Thibodeau to change who he is DNA-wise as a coach to utilize the players we have on this roster? We have some offensive juggernauts. I've been saying it for a minute. Cat is probably the best offensive center outside of Joker in the league. You have to lean on that. Yes, he's not a good defender, but he's not going to change his DNA as a player. He's never going to be Dikembe Mutombo in the paint. That's not his game. Right? He is offensive juggernaut. You must lean into that. Brunson, yes, he's not a good defender, but he just won clutch player of the year. At one point, he was an MVP candidate. You have to lean into what your roster is now. And I feel that's another reason he lost his position. He didn't lean into what his roster is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, those are the reasons, in my opinion, why you lost. I remember Sim talking about it in the shows. Another thing, adjustments, right? We have some subpar man-on-man defenders. Why are you not playing a little zone? Why? At this point, we have nothing to lose. Why not switch it up? Show a different look. Maybe Indiana doesn't expect it and they get cold from 3. You never know. But you know what? We just never did it, right? right? We just never tried anything new. The rotations. It took into game 3 for us to see Shamet, Wright, insert Mitch into the lineup. And I'm not saying I'm not
Desperation.
confusing Wright and Shamet as all NBA players. That's not what the conversation is. But there's still NBA players that can contribute to your team. And look what happened when Shamet and Wright got in the game. They were playing incredible defense on the perimeter. Incredible defense, in my opinion. Hands moving, feet moving, staying on their mind, fighting over screens, making it difficult for Halliburton and Neesmith to get their shots off. Yeah, them guys are going to score, but you at least got to make it tough. We have to wait until game 3 to see that. So these are the things that when people are complaining all year, and then you see Leon Rose makes this decision, to me, it's not shocking. In my opinion, it's not shocking. And last thing, because I know you guys want to take other callers or so have you finish our convo. What are the odds? What did we just see a few days ago? Who are the top 2 finalists for that Phoenix Suns gig?
Johnny Bryant.
And who's the other
Johnny
one?
Bryant. What? I mean,
Okay.
maybe you guys can convince me otherwise. I don't think that's a coincidence that a few days ago we see Johnny Bryant as a top candidate for the Phoenix job. We lost the game on Saturday, and on Tuesday, Tibbs gets let go or released or whatever the case may be, whatever word you want to use, fired or whatever. People talk about pressure. To me, he is the obvious choice for the job. Obvious. Because if Dolan and them
What makes
come
you
to him
think
and say,
so?
hey, go ahead.
Like, what have you heard about him? What makes you think he's the guy for the job? Because this is his first time.
I remember.
This would be his
Go ahead. I'm
first
sorry,
time
so
being a
finish.
head coach, and this is a championship contending team.
Absolutely. But here's
And
what
the
I'll say to that.
expectation is obviously there from the front office.
Got you. And those are great questions. And there's some truth in the middle of both. But here's what I'll say. He has had experience with this team. He was an assistant head coach for 2-3 years under Tibbs, right?
Not with this team,
Another
though.
thing, he has familiarity with some of the players. Not all, but
Some of the players.
He was there for Deuce. He was there when Brunson got there. He was there for a little bit of OG. He was there for Mitch. So that's 5 players he has familiarity with. Some of the core pieces that we're probably going to keep. Third, I've heard numerous reports with Quickly, Randall, a lot of the old guard Knicks we had the last 2 years spoke glowingly of him as an offensive mind and his ability to connect with them as players. Something that 70-year-old Tibbs, and there's no disrespect to Tibbs. Tibbs has been an excellent coach, and I'm not saying Bryant's going to be better than him. What I'm saying is they have spoke highly of him as someone that could run an offense and somebody that connect to the players. You know what you need right now in the new CBA? They are killing teams that go over that second apron. So you know what you got to do? You got to connect with the young players and play your bench. I just saw a report now. They just said the front office of the Knicks are looking for a head coach that is more amiable to playing bench players, right? So yes, he will. In my opinion, he's the obvious choice. In my opinion, I don't want Malone. I don't want Budenholzer. I don't want none of them guys. None of them old retreads. None of that. He's been with the team before. He just was in Cleveland. He knows where pressure is. They had a ton of pressure on them in Cleveland. They won like 70 games.
Yeah,
But
but
When he was with the Knicks last year, he had a ton of pressure too.
They ain't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So
I understand that, but them not reaching their goal has nothing to do with the pressure. I'm sure they felt pressure, like, yo, we just won 70 games.
But they didn't meet the pressure, though.
And that's what got Tibbs fired.
He didn't meet the pressure.
Right. No,
But
and that's a great point.
I will say this. I don't care as an assistant coach who you play under. The longest distance on a basketball team is the distance between the assistant coach seat and the head coach seat. It's something totally different. I've been an assistant coach before, and players would come to me and confide in me and complain about the coach, and you got to be behind the scenes trying to keep their heads up. It's a different position. When I moved to that head coach position, I was the enemy to those same players because my position, my position was different. So I say all of that to say, players speaking glowingly about an assistant coach who's not in a position of authority. I mean, in terms of his basketball IQ, that's great. That's fine. But I mean, in terms of how you could talk to him, you could do all of that stuff as an assistant coach.
Right.
As a head coach, tough decisions is going to be have to be made. So
And Steph and Tony, I agree.
my
My bad.
preference. Go ahead.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Right. He doesn't have experience, but we have seen examples of first-time head coaches. We just saw it a few years ago with Kawhi and them. They had Dwayne Casey for a few years. Nick Nurse comes in. I'm not saying he's the whole reason they won a chip, but he was part of the reason. We just saw it how many years ago with our hated rival, the Celtics? They had Brad Stevens for years, couldn't get over. And for some reason, Missoula, and like I said, they still had talent. I'm not taking that away from them. You have to have talent league to win.
Mm-hmm.
But Missoula did it in his short stint too. So all I'm saying is, in today's CBA, now if this was the old guard where we didn't have all these restrictions, I would have said, you know what, give Tibbs another year, right? Because he wants NBA ready players. But if we look at our cap space, we are tight between OG, Brunson, even though he gave us a discount, McCall's coming up with extension, and Cat and that monster contract he got. So you have to be able to extend your rotation. You have to see what we have in our young players. We may not have a great player on the bench right now, but how do we know we don't, right? What if Kolek would have gave us a few more assists in the game? I'm not saying he would have won this series, but what I'm saying is we don't know either way. So in today's new CBA, you have to have a coach that has to learn how to extend his rotations, be more amiable, and lean into what the identity of your team is. Last year's team was great for Tibbs. We were scrappy. We was fighting. And we loved it. I loved it too. Scrappy. Even Randall at certain points. Got in your face. Gnarling. Just angry. So that was a Tibbs team. That's the teams he likes. Overachievers. This year, it's a different identity. Okay? Towns is not Dikembe Mutombo. He's not Shaq. But you know what he is? Even on those bad nights against Indiana where everybody was clowning him, he was getting 24 and 13 and you didn't even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the man can score. He has talent. All the personality stuff, I don't get into that because that's just fan talk. Oh, he's soft or he's whatever. I don't get into that. How does he affect us on the court? Defensively, yes, he's a net negative. But we have an offensive team now. We have to lean into that. And if for whatever reason, apparently the front office love Johnny Bryant. He's a big fan within their organization. So to me, all those chips kind of start to line up where, yeah, they may do some interviews, but if they like what Johnny's saying or he's saying, hey, this is how I can implement, here's how I could do more pick and roll with Cat, right? How can I get more out of McCall, right? How can I get more out of OG offensively? And it will work on the defense, of course. But we have to lean into what our team is now. Okay, what can Kolek do? Let me look at Kolek. How does he work with McCall or OG? Or how is he with Mitch? Can he throw some lobs up? Okay, how's McCullough? Okay, he's good on his feet. He can move. He's long. He can play some defense. Daddy A, he has a nice three-point shot. He can hit his free throws. We need to lean into that with this new CBA, and I don't think Tibbs was the guy. And last point before I get off the air, people are shocked about it, and I get it. It is shocking because we just went to the Eastern Conference. But you guys can't tell me, all of us, I'll speak for me, I can't speak for you two, but I'm sure you might agree. Expectations changed once we beat Boston. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to hear about we just happy to, at least I wasn't. We just made it to Eastern Conference. The East is wide open, and I don't care what nobody say. Indiana, hats off to them. They played better than we did, but to me, talent-wise, they are not a better player. There's not nobody on that Pacers team that could defend Towns. Towns got himself out of them games with them dumb fouls, right? Brunson, they played great on him, but he was bringing the ball up too much, right? Too much force in the issue. I didn't see no offensive sets. We did a few of, I think in game 3 or 4, where they was getting them off the ball and they were screening them off the ball. I was like, wow, Brass, that's what we want to see. We saw that for that game, and then we didn't see it for the rest of the series. So, all I'm saying is this. Yeah, there's going to be expectations, but to me, Johnny Bryant, makes sense because he was in this locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's going to know what the expectations are coming in. He's not going to be naive, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he was a head coach that we never seen on our roster or on the sidelines, then that's a gamble. It's still a small gamble with him, but it's not a giant, like, oh my God, we don't know what we're going to get. Yeah, he's a first-time head coach. There's going to be some ups and downs throughout the season. But we have to lean onto him more.
And the playoffs too.
Absolutely, Seth.
I think those are great points. And if we did hire Bryant, I think the fact that he was here already, even the fact that he was under Tibbs already, so he's able to keep maybe some of the positive defensive strategic things that Tibbs implemented, or doesn't have to make a full on change of every type of scheme to kind of confuse people. You know what I mean? Like that would be helpful, especially if we're going the route of a new head coach. You know what I mean? Like a first time head coach. So I agree with those parts of it 100%. And to what I was saying earlier, if we're keeping Rick Brunson, you know what I mean? He can implement some of those positive things that he learned and took from Tibbs as well. So my only problem is the statement they made on the expectation, the championship expectation, and because I think had they not worded it that way and said we need someone who can maximize the entirety of the team, something to that extent, that doesn't put Johnny Bryant in a position where if you don't win,
right, but
you out of here.
Tony,
here's
my thing though, right? Even if you go after a more experienced head coach, let's say they wanted Malone or Mike Brown. I'm just throwing out names. I'm not sure. Mike Brown, right? Or let's say they go into a college. I've heard about the dude from UConn, Hawley, I think his name is, whatever. Jay Wright, right? They have no familiarity with, except for Jay Wright, but let's exclude him. Out of those names I stated, they have no familiarity with our players, right? So to me, that's why Johnny Bryant makes sense. He at least has a familiarity with our roster. Yeah, outside of a few players, yeah, he don't know Towns, he didn't, but outside of that, he can at least be like, you know what? All right, I can lean on Brunson for this, right? I can lean on Josh Hart for that. Okay, I know what Mitch can do, even though he was hurt while I was here last year, but I know what he could do. Let's see if we could do a little more lob threats to him. Okay, let's see if we could, play Brunson off ball more, right? He at least he knows the strengths and weaknesses of our players, right? Because if you get a Mike Malone, he don't really know a roster. He's have to start from scratch to even get to know these guys, get a relationship with them. And that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, and like I said, I'll go back to the CBA with these first and second aprons. You must have to evolve. You have to play your bench because it's very restrictive to just continue to add high-paid NBA players. It's not going to happen. The team we got now, that core four, and Mitch, we'll see what happens with Mitch and Deuce. Outside of those two, those are our 6 core players. I think they're gonna be here next year. So we have to. I think Johnny Bryant is the logical choice, and like I said, we have to get better on our offense. Steph and Tone, I've heard you guys complain numerous times, and I agree with you. Our offense is too stagnant. It's too Brunson-centric. You can't get deep in the playoffs like that. Look what Indiana was doing to us. Screen after screen after screen, back cut after back cut after back cut, over and over and over and over again. That's what we need. We need that. I'm not saying it has to be Indiana's playbook, but we need motions. We need to get Brunson off the ball. Look what they was doing to him, 96 feet. By the time he got the ball to midcourt, it's 12 seconds left. You can't run an offense like that.
Yep.
That whole ISO read and react thing by Tibbs,
I think Sim came out the room.
So Yeah, so all I'm saying, and I'm going to let you go, but to me, I'm not too surprised. Like I said, two things could be true. Tibbs was tremendous with us. There's no doubt about it. He's been the best head coach so far since Van Gundy was here. We're not debating that, his impact in raising the floor. But like I said, you two, Steph and Tony, you guys can't tell me y'all didn't smell finals appearance this year. Even though Indiana's a tough team, right? Imagine being in Leon and Dolan and them shoes, and we all three of them watching on the sideline how he's not playing Deuce, but he puts Cam in game 2. How we lose a 14-point lead in 2 minutes, right? Because you wanted to put Brunson back in. No disrespect to Brunson, he's awesome. But we didn't need offense at that point. We needed them to stop the Pacers, or at least slow them down. They are watching just like we're watching. During those exit interviews, you don't think they ask some of these players, like, how'd y'all feel? All those statements McCall made in the middle of the season to what Deuce had to say a few days ago? You can't tell me the front office wasn't listening to all this throughout the year. So, listen, we had a great year. I always appreciate you guys for taking my call. You guys are awesome. I'm always going to support y'all. And, listen, let's go Knicks, man. Hopefully it's Johnny Bryant, but whoever they pick, and I agree with you too, he has to be the right one, because if he's not, everybody going to start looking at Leon Rose and World Wide West now. And I think this is the team Leon wants, and Dolan and World Wide West and all them guys. I think this is the team they want. This, to them, this is like, this opportunity. We just saw it a few days ago. We were one game away from trying to get to the finals. Expectations changed once we beat Boston. Yeah. And Carlisle put on a coaching clinic against Tibbs. That's no disrespect. Carlisle is a great coach too. So I think all this stuff came into play. And, you know, I ain't going to hold you guys up longer because I know it's getting late, but I appreciate you too. And I'll keep tuning in.
No doubt, Jason. Appreciate you, bro. Peace. Yeah. StreamYard is having some issues a little bit with the videos, the switchability and stuff like that with the videos. So, you know, I apologize for that. Let me get to a couple of super chats. Paris Duggar, thank you for the super chat. He said they give severance pay to coaches for security. That's true. Silk said, Sim, I was going to say that I wonder if the Deuce statement sunk him since he never speaks. I think it has to do with, you know, the whole the conversations with all of the players, the exit interviews. Yeah. And then Parrish again said Tibbs deserved to be fired more over game 2. I mean, you know, personally, of course, I don't feel like he deserved to be fired. I think he did. You know, the team constantly, you know, went farther and farther into the playoffs under Tibbs, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I would say he deserved to be fired. But they had their reasons. They obviously feel like there's somebody better. That's, you know, they didn't feel like Tibbs. I mean, if you read the statement, they didn't feel like Tibbs could get him there. You know what I mean? So they feel like somebody else is better. Or somebody else that they have in mind can get them there. And so they made the move now. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm glad that they made the move now rather than later, right? So now you can get that coach in. Hopefully it's not, I don't think it's going to be a long coaching search, right? They get that coach in. That coach can say which players they like and don't like. I mean, you know, some of your big players, Karl Anthony Towns, Brunson, you know, those guys probably not going anywhere, but you know, those guys around the edges, they can say, this is who I like and don't like. You also got to figure whoever they bring in has to, you know, they got to be okay with the roster, right? You know, like people were asking the question, well, you know, they were saying Rick Carlisle would have won with this team or did whatever with this team. This team might not even be the same if Rick Carlisle was the coach, right? Because he probably has a different, he has a different coaching philosophy. So this team might not even be the same when you talk about the team. So now a coach is going to come in and, you know, I just don't think it's fair if you don't give the coach the players that he wants or she wants, right? You know, how do you, unless the coach comes in and says, I'm perfectly fine with this roster, this is what I can do with it. How do you hire a coach and not give the coach the tools to do what they want? You know?
If the coach was already in their ear, you know, while the series and stuff was going on, I'm sure that coach was telling them what Tibbs was doing wrong and what they would be doing and what Tibbs should have been doing.
True.
You know what I mean? Similar to the speculation of, you know, Doc Rivers being the consultant and before he took over for Griffin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's supposed to be helping Griffin, but he going telling the front office all the things he's doing wrong.
Right.
At the same time.
Right. Right. So, you know, before we get to the call, I want to get to Jeff. Jeff just joined us. Jeff, your thoughts?
Just another quiet day in Nickland, right? Wow. You know, I've always said I'm a jinx. I think I jinxed it last night. Did you ask? Point blank, Queen asked me, is Thibodeau coming back? I said yes. Not 24 hours later, they kicked him to the curb. I tell you, I am stunned. But, wow, I'll say this. I don't really love it just because, you know, coaches that win 56% of their games and make deep runs into the playoffs don't grow on trees. So from that standpoint, Thibodeau has been one of the best coaches the organization has ever had. But what I'll say also is this front office doesn't tend to make moves with emotionality. That everything that we've done from a player perspective has been rather cold and calculating and very precise in their decision making. And from the sounds of the reporting from Ian Begley, he was on the hot seat before this series even started. Like there were murmurings that, at least if I understood the reporting correctly, that even when we were up 2-1 on Boston, there were some things that people in the organization were not overly happy with Thibodeau. And we don't have access to all the information or all the politics or all the inside baseball of it. But, you know, one thing I do know, if you want to win a championship, everybody's got to be on the same page. And if everybody's not on the same page, you have to look at it and determine what is the cause, what is the reason behind that. And I think the Knicks looked at their situation and they said, they obviously thought that Thibodeau and his philosophy and the way he was doing things was not going to work moving forward, maybe because they have more faith in the roster that they built and thought it should have gone further than it did. You know, whatever the reasons may be, you know, I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves because you've got to get this next hire right. And I think it can't, not necessarily Jay right. That's not what I mean, but you have to get it correct. And you have to pinpoint the right guy and make it work because, you know, good coaches come and go. You know, there's only two types of them in this league, ones that are going to get fired and ones that are on the hot seat, right? And so, and ones that were fired already, I should say. But you know, I don't think you can go with someone who's inexperienced because I think that sets you back when your title contention window is now. So you really have to find someone, I think, who is more in tune with stuff like lineup data and how to run an offense with the players that we have. But I think it also has to be someone with a lot of playoff experience too. And it's proven. Like, I don't want, like, Johnny Bryant, for instance, has the same NBA playoff coaching record as a head coach that I do. Like, I don't want to entrust this group of guys. I'm not saying it couldn't work. It very possibly could, but I don't think that puts us in the best possible place to succeed. So I think we've got to get somebody with experience and somebody with championship experience because that's where this team expects to go. Then you've got to have someone who's been there before and proven that they can do it. Because otherwise you're just hoping that they can do it, which is what we were doing with Thibodeau.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you. It's hard for me to see Johnny Bryant when when you make the statement they made, our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. How do you not go get a championship coach? I don't know. I think I don't know.
Because I wanted to actually say this when Jason was still on the phone. Hopefully he's still tuning in. Who's to say Johnny Bryant, wasn't pointing out things while he was here as an assistant coach?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I do think, again, I'm not in support of bringing in Bryant. I like you said, especially with those comments. But Jason did make a lot of good points as to why it would make sense because of his familiarity with this team. I had pointed out not just this team, but under coach. So he would be able to keep the good things that the team is already familiar with, that he picked up or learned or whatever under Tibbs, and modify the things that wasn't necessarily working out or his flaws. I agree though. I mean, but even with the experience thing, who's out there who are we okay with unanimously? Not that it matters who we care, because it only matters with what they think, with the front office things. But I mean, that's the real question. What are the names out there, or who are we okay with?
How about Ty Lue? Can we give up we don't even have a draft pick if we wanted to give it up to get a coach, right? You're right, Tom. You're right. I don't know. I like I said, I would like Udoka, he's in Houston. I would like Spoelstra here in Miami. I would like Ty Lue, he's with the Clippers. I'm not a Bodenhauser fan, and I'm Budenhauser fan, and I'm not a Mike Malone fan. But I will say this is just from what I've heard. Like, it's not like I've been watching those coaches game in and game in and game out. So I'm just going by what what I'm hearing. If I had to choose between one of them, I would choose Malone if I had to.
Oh,
I mean, no, of those that's available. If I had, if you push my foot to the fire.
Yeah. It's tough because, like if I'm Tom Thibodeau and they hire someone who doesn't have experience in winning a championship,
slap in the face.
I'm like, exactly. I'm like, okay, I haven't won a championship, but I've had a track record of turning teams around. We got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're going to hire someone who hasn't even coached as a head coach in the NBA, who has never coached in the playoffs, who's never felt that kind of pressure. That's what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? So that would be a slap in the face. And I think for a lot of fans, people are going to, you see a lot of people, Johnny Bryant, and they're excited about Johnny Bryant. But there's also going to be a lot of fans like, who? So you're telling me you're in pursuit of a championship, but you're bringing in a rookie head coach? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't, Yeah, Steve Kerr did it. Tell me how many more? How many other rookie head coaches went and won a championship in their first year? It's not that many. Steve Kerr did it.
How about Monty Williams?
As a coach, as a head coach? Yeah, Monty Williams is good.
Yeah.
You know,
He know how to deal with turmoil.
True.
Multiple-time NBA Coach of the Year. I think he went pretty far with that Phoenix team when he was there. I mean, he doesn't have an NBA championship under his belt, but I think he was just collecting paychecks in Detroit. I don't think he had really any interest in coaching that team. It was just paid so much money that it was like, you know, and that team was a disaster, no doubt. But, you know, I mean, just a thought, just a name.
Yeah.
Monty Williams' style though is a little bit like Tibbs. Like his you know his style, you know, this is how I'm doing it. I need everybody, you know, to fall in line from what I'm hearing. Listen, I don't have a name, but it has to be somebody that can maximize this roster. It has to be somebody that can find synergy between Cat and Brunson. It has to be just somebody that can maximize the roster, that schematically can, you know, in a playoff series or even throughout the course of a season, what's the best offensive plays for Brunson?
Right.
What plays can we have for him on the ball? What plays can we have for him off the ball? And when he is off the ball, who's running the offense? Because you need somebody that can not just bring the ball up the court and pass it to Brunt. It's the same thing. You're just giving it to him while he's over half court. But somebody who can facilitate the offense, you know, somebody that can, you know, draw up schemes for Cat. So sometimes maybe we can run the offense through Cat. Like offensive schematics, I need the coach to be able to do that. And just putting the right, I mean, it's hard when you say put the right lineups in, because it's not about whether it'll work or not. Just given the situation, I think this lineup would be best. It may or may not, you know, work out, but a double big lineup, in my opinion, don't kill me, Tony, against a fast breaking team, to me, I don't see that.
I'm not saying that was the right decision long term. I think number one, it was desperation, and I think that was the lineup he was waiting for anyway. You know what I mean? Like that's like you had Mitchell Robinson been healthy, I think that would have been the starting five to start the season. So I think that's why he went to it. Sim, when you do the super chats, can you do the most recent one first and then the one behind it? Because I think they answer each other.
Okay. All right, let's the most recent one is Fred Wong.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and let's jump in. Let's jump in and do that one. Fred says, Sim, stop defending Tibbs. This team is a championship roster. Tibbs failed with the defensive and offensive schemes along with poor rotation. We've seen him get out-coached all year. This team only won because of talent. You know, it's just hard for me to agree that a team only won because of talent. I'm sorry, I can't agree with that at all. I'm not saying Tom Thibodeau is the best coach that's in the NBA. But you don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals purely based on talent. There's some level of coaching somewhere. You know what I mean? And, you know, people that don't like Tibbs or didn't like what he was doing or didn't like his style of coaching are going to, you know, that's cool. You know, I get that. I'll tell you what. I will agree with anyone if this coach comes in next year and this team is markedly better. I'll agree with you 100%. You know, if
that's about the only way we're markedly better, though.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
6 games away from a title this year.
Exactly.
How do you get much better than that? Like, it's not regular season wins. It's
right.
It's like Thibodeau got fired because of lack of a postseason resume, right? So there are only two possibilities for better than last year, and one is an NBA finalist, and another is an NBA champion.
Yep.
And anything less is either as equal to what Tibbs did or backsliding.
Or backsliding, exactly. You know what I mean? So, you know, let's talk about that next year. Obviously, you know, the roster could look different, but let's talk about that next year. If this team is markedly better, okay, I'll give it to you. If it's not, then we got some things to talk about. Now, which one did you say to go to, Tony?
It was the one right before. It came right before that one.
With Paris?
No,
Okay.
I'll find it for you.
All right, cool. Well, I'll read this one. Thank you for the super chat, Paris. It said they got 5 kids they need developed. Cat is going, whatever you're saying. Perk said Cat has to be developed in the mid-range, passing off the double dribble and pick and pop. Perk doesn't coach this basketball team. So I love Kendrick Perkins, but he's not the coach. He's not there to know the schemes, this, that, and the third. So I really don't care too much about what Perk said because he's not the coach. You know what I mean?
I found this soon.
All right, well, go ahead. You want to put it up?
There you go.
Donnell Amonte, he said, to all these Tibbs detractors, it's finals or bust. I don't want to hear whining from y'all next season if we don't get there. Hey, I'm 100% with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm 100% with that. You know what I mean? If we don't get there next year, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people complained about Tibbs and were mad at Tibbs and this and that. If you don't get the results you want next year, I don't know what to tell you. Lauren from Cali said, all I know, and I'm going to get to you in a second, caller, said, all I know is I need my apologies. I'm not apologizing because I'm not apologizing. You know what I mean? I get it. He's, he got fired and this and that, but I'm not apologizing for my thoughts on who he is as a coach.
He could have just accepted you was right.
You know what I mean? LD again said Obi ended your "we don't have a bench" excuses. Huh?
Obi wasn't a good fit for this team. Obi would not have played on this team. I mean, listen, systems matter.
Yeah.
Obi fits Indiana's system. He doesn't fit Tom Thibodeau's system. And we can find somebody on Tom Thibodeau's bench that wouldn't fit in Carlisle's system. I mean, systems matter. So Thibodeau, Obi found his place. Nobody said he was a bad player. He just wasn't a fit for what we were doing.
Yeah. Let me get to a caller real quick. Caller, you live. Name me where you're from, please.
Hey, this is Daryl, man. And I'm in Charlotte right now.
What's happening with you, brother? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I called in a couple of years back, man. I was from the barbershop. Oh. But anyway, you might not remember.
Yeah, I do. I do remember. I remember you from the barbershop.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah. Okay. So I'm at the crib now. So I got a few things about this firing, man. Okay. Uh-huh. First of all, let me say I think that Tibbs did not deserve to be fired. Okay. However, I kind of understand why. Okay. Now, first of all, the season was not a failure in my eyes. Why wasn't it a failure? We were 51-21, number one. Number two, we went further this year than we did last year. Last year, we got ousted in the conference semis. This year, we got ousted in the conference finals. Mm-hmm. And third of all, the cherry on top, this team was basically built to beat Boston, and that's what we did. We beat Boston. Okay. Now, here comes some of why I feel as though we lost the series. A lot of people say we lost the series because of game one, and that is kind of true, but I tend to believe we lost the series during the season, during the regular season, by Tibbs not playing his bench, by Tibbs not putting guys in, letting them get a little more familiar, letting them, of course, the postseason is different than the regular season, but you got to give them guys playing time, not out of desperation, but playing time because they can play. Now, what I think really doomed Tibbs for real was two things. Okay. The first thing that I think really doomed him was everybody said we didn't have a bench. We don't have a bench. The bench is slim. The bench is shallow. Well, that's not true. We do have a bench because when they played, they performed. When they played, they performed. They cannot check themselves in the game. The coach has to check them in the game. That's number one, why I feel as though that sealed Tibbs' doom was when these guys played. It was like, oh, wow, why hasn't he been playing these guys? Why hasn't these guys had one? You cannot beat a Pacer team that's running. And let me get to this. How do you not make adjustments? You tell me this, please. How do you get beat constantly, game after game after game after game, with these guys running on makes, these guys running on misses? How do you not make adjustments? And then when you do go to your bench out of desperation, they play good. They stop the bleeding and they play good. So now what do, Tibbs? Now what do? Okay, you start a double big lineup out of desperation where, hey, something needed to be changed. And I'm not going to say we won the games because of the double bigs, but Mitch put in work. Mitchie put in work on them boards. He put in work on defense. He really did. However, why do you wait until we're down 0-2? What about the regular season? What about putting these guys in the regular season and let them get some cohesion with different lineups so they will be familiar? I understand the postseason is different. It's a different animal. I understand that. But those are the things that I think that doom Tibbs. Now, I have two more things I want to say.
Let me jump in here for a minute because I'm one of those people that don't feel like we had a strong bench. Right? I don't. And, we talked about this last night a little bit on Dope. So, throughout the year, everyone's, lauding and saying how good Shamit was, which I did think he was good. And people talking about Wright. First of all, Wright wasn't here the whole season.
True.
Right. So, he wasn't here. Shamit, half the fan base wanted Shamit gone when he started playing because he wasn't playing well. Right. He got in and he wasn't doing anything. And when Tom Thibodeau decided to not play him, there were people like, oh, good, because he's not doing anything. And people were like, why did we wait all this time for Shamit when we could have had Mook? I mean, there were all kinds of things because Shamit wasn't playing well. The reason why I say we don't have a bench, because the guys that we had on the bench are not consistently giving you that production. They're just not consistently giving you that. You know what I mean? When you talk about having a bench, because everyone talks about OKC's bench, Indiana's bench. Of course, there's going to be nights when, guys don't perform well, right? But those guys are consistently giving you production, and I didn't feel like we had the type of bench that would consistently give you production. That's the way that I see. And people say they're not playing. In my opinion, they're not playing for a reason because they aren't consistent. Now, if they were playing all year, because I posed this question too, when people said, see, if they were playing all year, right, they would have been doing this, that, and this, that. Maybe we would have been better than the third seed. I doubt it. We probably would have been lower. But, okay, they performed. One of the reasons why I think they performed is because they didn't play all year. Because if they played all year, Rick Carlisle, the coach that he is, would have been prepared for them. And in the playoffs, they wouldn't have had the production that they had, in my opinion, because he would have known exactly what it is that they were going to do with this particular team. I think the fact that they were used at the time that they were used brought something different to the series at that point in time because they hadn't been used.
So let me ask you this.
Before you get to that, and as far as with the double big lineup, right? You say, why do we wait until we're down 0-2? Let me tell you why. The first game, we're up 17 points. We're up 14 points with 2 minutes and 33 seconds left with the lineup that we used.
Exactly.
Right? But listen.
Exactly.
With the lineup that we used, that's what we're up. Right? With the lineup that we used, we end up losing the game. In game 2, do you switch to the double big after you were just beating this team by 17? You were up by 14 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You were up by 9 with like 50 seconds. Do you change it because you didn't finish the game? I don't think so. I think you say, all right, let's just finish the game this time. So now they didn't finish the game. They got beaten. They're down 0-2. It's like, okay, well, maybe this, I don't like the way this looked. Let's go with this double big lineup because I used it a little bit during game 2 or game 1, and I liked what I saw, so let me try it, right? Because really, game 2 was for Indiana to make adjustments. For all intents and purposes, the Knicks won that game in game 1. They didn't win it by the score, but they dominated that game. Besides the last half of the fourth quarter, right? So it was up to Indiana to make those adjustments in game 2, not the Knicks. Because Indiana would approach it like they lost that game. They made the adjustments. And so then in game 3, the Knicks made adjustments in game 3. Right? I don't know. I just don't feel that our bench, I do not feel that our bench is anywhere near the Pacers, anywhere near OKC. And I don't think using our bench during the regular season would have made us beat the Pacers.
So let me ask you a question.
I think winning game 1 might have, but I don't think using our bench would have made us beat the Pacers.
If I'm not mistaken, they took a poll earlier in the year, and Tibbs came up with, this is a twofold question. Tibbs came up as the least coach that players would like to play for, right? They took this poll earlier in the year. I don't know if you remember or not. Right.
They do it every year. Yeah, I do. They did it every year. Ever since he's been the coach, they did it every year. Yep.
Right. Now, do you think, it's a question, do you think that maybe they plan to pursue a player who may not necessarily want to play for Tibbs, right? And, you know, if Tibbs is the coach, this might doom them. And then one last thing. Mm-hmm. This is you coach, right, Sim? Because I hear you say you're going, you got to coach your team, your daughter's team, whatever, right? How can you, for all intents and purposes, tell a coach how to coach, even if you're in the organization? How can, if there are things within the front office, right, that they don't like about Tibbs' coaching style, right? And I don't know, I mean, it could be the backbiting people in Dolan's ear or whatever. You hear all of this, that, and the third, whatever, you know. But if they feel as though that there's something that Tibbs did not do and that historically doesn't do, how can you go to a head coach and tell the head coach how to do their job? How can you go to a coach and tell a coach how to coach? Especially a coach that went this far. If they feel like they needed to replace him, like, what do? Obviously, you do what you did today. Mm-hmm. I mean, they felt like you did that was the right move, right? You know, to let Tibbs go. But what was the other alternative to let, like say hypothetically, people in the front office say this about Tibbs, that about Tibbs. They don't like this. They don't like that. They don't like that, right? But they can't go to Tibbs and say, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to play this player. I need you to run this. You know, back with the Phil Jackson thing all over again. I need you to run a triangle, you know. And Tibbs doesn't, like what do you do? What do you do? Well, if you're the front office and you don't like it, what do you do?
You do what you did, I guess. I mean, that's the only thing you can do.
It's the only thing you can do, man.
The only thing you can do is do what you did.
I hate it for Tibbs, but he frustrates me. He's, I don't know him as a person. I'm just an avid Knicks fan in Charlotte that spends all my money to get courtside seats when they come here. But at the same time, like I can kind of see why they let Tibbs go. Now the question is somebody coming down the pipe already that they have their eyes on? Do they have a plan already? Like I thought Tibbs and Rose was tied together at the hip.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were too. I mean, listen, I thought that Leon Rose, I thought that this front office was the type of front office that was going to let Tibbs play out his contract and then make a decision then. But, they obviously feel that Tibbs ain't the guy. You know what I mean?
They have to because didn't he just sign an extension?
He just signed an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That didn't even kick in yet. Doesn't it kick in next season?
Yeah, next year, because this would have been his last year.
Right.
Wow. Do you think Dolan has his fingerprints on this?
I mean,
100%.
I think Dolan had obviously, they went to Dolan and they brought it to Dolan and he had to sign off. He's going to sign off on it. So, I don't know if he came and said, I want him gone. I think Cat has some fingerprints on it, though. I do.
Cat?
I do. I mean, according to Ian Begley, they had during exit interviews, they kind of did it differently this year, and they had exit interviews with the top players on the team. And after those interviews is when Tom Thibodeau was ousted.
But Cat and Tibbs have a history back in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, and Tibbs got fired in Minnesota too.
Oh boy, yeah, he did. Yeah, this ain't boding well for Cat, Jack.
So somewhere in there, I feel because Tibbs and Cat don't really mesh, they decided to go with Cat. I do feel like that. I also feel like Bridges, maybe too. Maybe them two.
Oh, I know Bridges did. He said something in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, maybe they didn't mesh as well. You know what I'm saying? Tibbs and Brunson, they them two, they're tight. I think Josh Hart and Tibbs. I think OG and Tibbs are cool.
So I got one last thing for you, so.
Yeah.
You guys, man, y'all guys do a great job anyway. I'm gonna tell you that. You do an outstanding job. Let me I got one more thing for you. Who do you think is gonna be the guy?
I have no idea, man. I don't know. It's tough to say. Mike Malone is almost getting is getting some more Tibbs.
I'm gonna bring an old name up, man. I think he built for it, man. I think Mark is built for it, man. I'm telling you. I think Mark is built for it. It's been some years. It's been some years. Yes, it has. But I think he's really.
Isn't he a similar coach to Tibbs too? Isn't he similar to Tibbs?
I don't think so.
I don't know about
because he empowers.
I mean, I know they had the two best shooters in the world in Golden State. But.
I mean, but here's the thing: when Mark wasn't let go, there were things outside of basketball that I think that he was let go. But the same questions that people had about Tibbs, can he get the best out of that offense? Can he get the best out of those players? Were asked of Mark Jackson.
I think he can.
I think he got the best out of the Splash Brothers and Draymond.
You think so?
I think I do think, regardless of, like, I don't know if he would have went on the run that Kerr did under the with the Warriors, but I think he would have won a chip. I think
he would have. Did you see what he did with David Lee at center?
I mean, listen. I know what he did, but I know the offense was way better under Steve Kerr. I mean, and just in the same way you're saying about Mark Jackson, did you see what he did with? You can say the same thing with Tom Thibodeau with the Knicks.
You can.
Did you see what he did with Elfrid Payton at the point guard spot?
Yeah.
Did you see what he did with Nate Robinson when Derrick Rose was out in the playoffs?
Yeah, So I think.
I like Tibbs, man. I like Tibbs, but I just think that, and you see it periodically around the NBA. teams get so far and they make a coaching change,
Yeah.
and some of the times the coaching change is what the team needed to get
No,
further.
no doubt. That's true. That's true. That's true. I'm just saying, Kevin Bergen said, let me go back and see where it is. He just said something about Mark Jackson. Oh, he said every year, the Warriors got better every year under Mark Jackson record wise. I mean, you can kind of happen like that with the Knicks
and
too.
the players too. Like, I'm not discounting Kerr, but the trajectory was already there under Mark Jackson.
No, it was. I mean, it's going to be this. It's going to be said the same thing for Tom Thibodeau. The trajectory is
Absolutely.
already there. They just made the Eastern Conference Finals. Julius Randle had his best
Didn't
years.
Jackson get fired for non-basketball reasons?
I think so.
There,
It was non-basketball stuff.
Yeah, it was religious. It was religious things that he was
And he
preaching
never got another job ever
in the facility.
as a head
You know what I mean?
coach.
Like it was part of his it was part of his coaching.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like his religious.
Yeah, it was definitely non-basketball stuff with Mark Jackson. You know what I mean? So
I don't know, man. I kind of, I'm not going to say I totally hate to see Tibbs go because I think it kind of ran its course with him. Although I would have liked to see him get another year with these guys because Cat and Bridges, it was only their first year. But as I said earlier, if Leon Rose continues to do the fabulous job that he's doing and brings players in, bench players or whatever, is Tibbs going to play them? Is Tibbs going to give them burn?
I think if they are, well, he ain't now, but
Right.
I think if they were, if they're legitimate players,
and I think that was the question. That was one of their questions.
Yeah, I think if they're legitimate, I mean, think about the players that he didn't play. Let's really think about this. The players that he didn't play, right? Campaign played, right? He was a legitimate signing, free agent signing. Shamet was on his way out the league. Wright was a throw-in off of somebody else's bench. There's an argument for Precious, I think.
Yeah, can I give my argument real quick, Simba? Because I gotta get out of here. Because I agree with I don't think all the guys that should have played. I don't think the rookies, Kolek, McCullum. I don't think the rookies should have played, other than Huck Porter, and I'll get to that in a second.
I love Huck Porter, bro. I love Huck Porter.
Here's what I think potentially happened. I'm speculating, but I think the front office was in constant communication with Tom Thibodeau, right? So I don't think I think they brought guys in the off season, training camp, and these are our options, right? I think Tom Thibodeau's decision was to ride with Shamet as opposed to whoever, whether Okiki, the Morris twin, whatever. I think that was a Tibbs decision. I want to keep this guy. I'll wait it out. I don't care about the injury. So I think expectation from front office is down the road, he should be part of the rotation. I think the re-signing of Precious was another thing that was okayed by Tibbs. Yeah, he has a rapport with us. He stepped up when needed last year. So again, I think expectation was he should have been in the rotation. I also think Huck Porty's arrival, like in the regular season, was the reason why they let Sims go, who was part of the rotation. Minimal, but he was part of the rotation. So I would assume the expectation would be he's gonna fill in for the rotational minutes in Sims absence. So, and this is speculation, but if all those things are true and Thibodeau had a hand in those decisions, the expectation would be to play at least those three guys. You know what I mean? Not Kolek, not McCullum, not Cam. You know what I mean? But I would think those three guys, maybe Cam too, maybe if he signed off on that, but still, I would think those are reasons, or I would think that would make it expectation for those three guys to play. I also said prior to the season started, when we made all these moves, I was concerned about this particular thing with Tibbs, where he does wait until he doesn't have any options to use those back options. And I thought with our roster being so offensively talented in the top end, that he would be less likely to start using the guys on the back end unless it became a out of desperation. So I think there's truth to it. I do think his not playing guys has a lot to do with the evaluation. I mean, because it's come up throughout the year from within. So I think there are some truths to it. That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think. But once again, if you're in the front office, how do you tell your head coach how to coach?
No, that's true. That's true. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's where, you know, they probably, you know, are moving on. But Daryl, I thank you for your time, man. I know we got some other people that want to call in. Definitely appreciate it. Love the insight.
Hey, put up there, before you go, man, put up there, man, where I can send you, you know, donate to your cause.
I appreciate you. I'll put it up there. All right. I mean,
okay.
You can do a super chat. I also put the Cash App up.
Put the Cash App up.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Y'all be good, but stay safe.
Yeah. Peace.
All right. Appreciate you.
I'm going to get to a couple super chats in shortly. I do want to find out from you all. And, you know, I'll start with Steph and then come around to Jeff and Tony. I don't know if you got to leave, but with the addition of a new coach, how many player changes do you think they're going to be? I don't know if there can be big changes, but, you know, how do you think that impacts the roster?
I think a lot of it is going to depend on how the coach sees the roster and whether the coach, and if the coach wants to put a more offensive team around Brunson and Cat to try to accentuate their positives, or whether that coach feels like these two guys are poor defensively. We need to have a rock solid defensive team around them. I think that's going to decide what they do next. I think if they want to put an offensive team, a more offensive-minded team around it. Listen, when I say more offensive, you still got to play a little defense, right? I'm not talking about a cone, right? I would suspect that Josh is going to be out the starting lineup if his salary isn't used for another player, and they'll look for somebody who can shoot the basketball and play defense that would create space around those two guys, because that's what you need around Cat and Brunson. You need to create space for them to operate. So yeah, I'm not sure that's on this roster unless you want to go with Deuce McBride, which, you know, you give up some size, some switchability, but the on-off numbers have been good. Do you go with a defensive guy, you know, like Mitchell Robinson? So my point is, they can kind of do it with who's on the roster right now. But I think if you really want to lean into it, I think you would need another offensive player for that starting lineup with some size. And if you really want to lean into it defensively, Tony, I'm sorry, you're going to need a center who can at least play defense and have some ball skills as well to put with Towns, in my opinion. So I think it starts with the new coach and how he wants to build around Cat and Brunson.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, first of all, it's a great question. I think that we have a lot of guys who are free agents in those spots. Like, I don't know that any of those guys are under contract for next season outside of Deuce and Mitch. And I'm not necessarily sure that those two guys are safe either. I agree with Queen. I think that you're going to bring in a new coach, you got to get some of the groceries that he likes and that he wants, right? I mean, it's not fair to the head coach to say, all right, we're hiring you, but you have to win with these players, and we're not going to bring in your players to suit your style or your game plan or what it is that you want to do. So from that standpoint, I don't think that we were keeping everybody anyway. I think campaign was probably gone regardless.
Mhm.
I don't, I don't know how the new coach is going to feel about Deuce. Mitch had his moments in the playoffs where he looked like the best player on the court, but he's also injury prone, and the front office didn't bring him in. It wouldn't surprise me if they moved off of him, if the new coach wants to move in a different direction and doesn't like the idea of a too big lineup, for example. Now, if he does and he wants size, like if it's Mike Woodson and the East is big, we all remember those days, then, then we'll probably, Robinson will still be here and probably even starting. But so I think all of those things factor in, but I would expect most of those players to be changing addresses when the new coach comes in, because I think you've got to give the new coach, unless the new coach just endorses those players and likes them, in which case, they'll make effort to bring them back. But some of those guys may not want to be back either. I think Shamet definitely does, but I other than that, ask Precious Achiuwa if he wants to come back to the Knicks. I'm guessing he wants to go somewhere where he's going to get some playing time.
Well, the guy keeping him back ain't here.
Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of those players are probably going to say, well, let me see who they bring in. And then, kind of make a decision whether or not they want to be here. And I've already seen rumors about, the Knicks want this guy or that guy. I don't think you can say what guy, unless they've already been speaking with the coach. All right. Unless they've already had those conversations. You know what I mean? Tony, what do you think, man?
I think a upgrade, or what they feel is an upgrade in a trade is coming. I think the same way there were rumblings about this Thibodeau situation, and I was like ignoring it. There's been other rumblings about trades and guys' interests. So I'm not gonna ignore this one. I think they're gonna look to make a move, and it might even be before the coach is announced.
Yeah. If I was a coach,
yeah. Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Steph. Go ahead, Steph.
Sam. I thought this was purely a basketball move in terms of schematics, rotations, things like that. But it sounds to me that wasn't really the case. It's sounding to me now that it was more about the players' faith in Tom Thibodeau going forward, more than about the front office looking at the schematics and the lineups and saying, I don't know. It was more about asking the players, you with him all season. Do you think he's the guy that can take us over the top? And like I said earlier, he must not have gotten a ringing endorsement for them to fire him after that meeting.
Right.
Do you think the exit meetings were without Tom Thibodeau's presence?
I don't think he was
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't have said the things they said if Tom was sitting there.
I'm just wondering, like, even that would be traditionally different, right? Like the coach is usually in the exit meeting. And then my other question would be, they said they did it different and they focus on the top players. I want to know the list of players that got interviewed and who didn't. So who's considered who, what I mean? I'm sure there's at least one person that was like feeling some kind of way if they didn't get their exit meeting, or at least feeling unsafe.
Right. Who's considered a top player, who's not?
Who's not. And let me tell you, we can start arguing if Cat's the top player now. And in terms of, that was Leon. I mean, Leon Rose brought in Brunson too.
Mm-hmm.
Brunson, I would guess, endorsed him. Cat did not.
Yeah.
Did he feel like my tenure here is going to be judged on Cat, because I push my chips pretty much into the middle of the table, bringing them in. I better make sure I get a coach in here that can optimize them.
Right.
I mean, the funny thing is, I could see Mikel not having favorable statements either, and I would think his reputation relies more on Mikel than Cat. But if it's both of them, yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair too.
Yeah, it's tough. Let me get to a couple of super chats. Robert Brown said Mark Jackson built Golden State so Kerr can win the championship. Tibbs built the Knicks so Johnny Bryant can potentially win a championship. How ironic. We'll see. Like I said, that doesn't happen often. That you have a rookie head coach. Now, Johnny Bryant's been doing some assistant coaching for a while, so there's definitely a difference there. Gotta admit that. Paris Duggar said, now I'm gonna hit Tibbs was garbage last year and this year. Okay. Well, if garbage to you is making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, then I got you. Mark Felton, thank you for the super chat. He said, Mikal, Deuce made comments about Tibbs not playing
the bench.
Not playing the bench. Fred Wong said, coaches have won in the first year. It's more about talent and run the proper schemes. This is a 60-win championship team with the right coach. Consider Patrick Ewing, Mark Jackson, Sam Cassell, Kevin Ollie, Mike Woodson, Rick Pitino. Patrick Ewing?
Not Georgetown Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, definitely not Georgetown Patrick Ewing.
He was disaster at
Not Georgetown Patrick Ewing. Not at all. Mike Woodson? I mean, you're going to get a lot of the same Tibbs with Mike Woodson, I think. Maybe he might use the bench a little bit more, have a better rapport with players. But I think when Mike Woodson was here, the same argument was it was ISO, ISO, ISO. Donald Cannon said, didn't Mark Jackson get fired and Kerr got the ring? Didn't Malone just win the championship 2 years ago, and didn't he just get fired? So if they had better stats than Tibbs, what makes you think he can't be out? Tibbs is out. Tibbs is out. Now, why did Mike Malone get fired? Because they believe he lost the locker room.
I watched the Nuggets.
He wasn't getting along with the. He wasn't getting along. Also,
Joker. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anybody could have saved that team. Like Joker was one-man band this year.
He also wasn't getting along with the front office, and
For years.
I forgot his name. He played in the league. They didn't get along. He felt that Malone should be playing the younger guys more, and Malone felt that, like Tibbs, I need to go with the vets. I need to go with those that been through it, basically.
Russ.
Yeah. My man, Lauren from Cali said, bench minutes, 24-25 dead last, 23-24 dead last, 22-23 third last, 21-22 sixth last, 20-21 22nd. So he basically has never had a bench. I mean, if you look at last year, I think the
bench was started.
Yeah. I think he probably went deeper in the bench last year than you probably have seen. I mean, Precious played mad minutes. Obviously, DiVincenzo ended up getting into the starting lineup. So did Josh Hart. I mean, there was some lineup turnover. Listen, I'm not saying that he's going to go 10 deep. He probably never is going to go 10 deep. You know what I mean? But
I got to dip out some.
All right. But when we had guys on the bench that he was confident in, I feel like he played them. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's never gonna go. He's never gonna go 10 deep. That's not his style. And you know, that's okay. That doesn't mean that this year he had a bench. I'm sorry. Uncle Fulio said we can find a coach to replicate / exceed the results under Tom Thibodeau. Never was concerned for me. I'm really intrigued about the potential power struggle involving Rick Brunson. We know he isn't going anywhere. You know, that's definitely going to be a that's going to be something to watch and pay attention to. You know, how that works with Tom Thibodeau. I think Tony was asking that earlier. You know what I mean? How things are going to work with Rick Brunson. You know what I mean? I think Rick is probably the kind of guy that can, you know, that'll work with anyone. You know, he was a Tom Thibodeau guy. You know what I mean? Because, you know, they had history together. But I don't think he's gonna have a problem just because it's another coach and he knows the business. He's been around a while. Uncle Fulio, again, thank you for the super chat. He said Tibbs firing was less about basketball, more about politics. I think about the DiVincenzo Rick Brunson altercation in the preseason. I think about Johnny Bryant taking a lateral job in Cleveland. I don't know. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about, you know, what else led to it. You know, I mean, there was an article that came out the other day about the players, the coaching staff and the players not really liking Karl Anthony Towns. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? I mean, there's a ton of stuff happening and going on. Who knows? I just hope that there wasn't like dissension in the locker room between the coach and the players and between the players. You know what I mean? And if there was, then whoever comes in has got to figure out how to get the players back together as one unit, because even in the playoffs, you've seen OG and Cat arguing and Brunson and Cat arguing when he tried to break up OG and Cat. You know, and those things are going to happen. I'm not saying that,
Right.
you know, those things are going to happen. I just hope that wasn't a sign that there are issues amongst the players in the locker room. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out within the next within the next couple of weeks.
If we have a coach Sim tomorrow, we know they already lined up their guy.
Yeah, they already lined them up. Exactly. 27 said, don't spread rumors. That wasn't the story. Oh, there was a story that said that there were several players and some coaching staff that weren't happy with Karl Anthony Towns and weren't happy with his defense and didn't feel that he picked up on the defensive schemes and didn't communicate. Yeah.
It was in the Athletic.
Yeah, it was in the Athletic. Yep. You know, we got Silk Sutton on the line. See what's going on with Silk, man. Silk.
What up, Sam?
What's popping with you, man? How you feeling?
What up, Sam? What up, Queen? What up, Jeff? But I missed Tony because I wanted to ask him a question because he said he wanted to know which top guys was in that meeting. And when I heard the quietest guy on the team complain talk about stuff that's been happening all season, came back to bite us. That's the first time since you've been talking about Tiff. Well, I'm like, oh, if he's talking and he never talks, there may be some bigger dissension. Because I was hearing stuff about they had multiple players only meetings to the players. I heard about the one, but there was a story that said they had multiple. So that means they probably had more after the beef between OG and Cat, and they probably had no play meetings after that to get the air stuff out. So it seemed like stuff was going on and out of control, and this story about they didn't know their roles. See, I'm wondering if that deuce to the public changed how the Knicks did their exit meeting and said, hold on, we're going to have to speak to these players one-on-one. Because this guy never says nothing.
Right. You know, I wonder, though, I do wonder. When I was with Tony yesterday and we were talking about Kevin Durant, I do wonder if Tom Thibodeau has trouble dealing with bigger stars and coaching bigger stars. You know what I'm saying? Mike D'Antoni had some problems that way, right? And I just wonder if he has issues coaching the guys with the bigger egos, the bigger stars, and has trouble addressing them with issues that they might be having, or if he does address them, how they maybe he doesn't know how to address them, to kind of smooth over the ego. It seems like it could be that way. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have the stars that really like them, like Derrick Rose, I think Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? But maybe there's some other guys that he has some issues. Maybe he has issues dealing with the big stars. I don't know.
Well, Sims, I don't think Jimmy Butler's on that I Love Tibbs list anymore after Minnesota. Okay. And I think that's where his PTSD comes from. Okay, he tried to bring Jimmy Butler to Minnesota, and with the help Cat and Wiggins, and Jimmy Butler just turned on both of them, calling them both soft, and then he wanted out of there. And ever since then, I know that even with Randall, even with Cat, other stars, he don't really enforce stuff they do wrong as much as he does other players. He won't really get on them for the mistakes and errors. Like I said, he might be the first time I saw him get on Hart this year off the bench. Because he would let Hart do them turnovers and mistakes because he likes hustle and rebound, and he ignores all the other stuff. It seems like he has since he tried to fix Cat with what's the name, Butler, and it didn't work out. He kind of doesn't chastise his star players anymore. Or maybe he might be doing it, I'm just not seeing it. But I think he got PTSD from that moment. And with Tibbs, when he got PTSD on the issue, he don't let it go. It just stays with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't want to have him go, but when I heard Deuce's comment, that's the first time I said, you know what? If it's a player's thing, he might be in trouble. I thought they were going to give him one more year at least, but if it's a player's thing, he might be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, who do you want as the next coach, Silk?
I know you said you want to if Jay Wright come out of retirement, I take it Jay Wright, but that ain't gonna happen because he made it perfectly clear he don't want to coach no more. He got his TV gig, and he's helping out Villanova and stuff. So I don't think Jay White's coming out of retirement. So to me, and I heard a thing. You know who Mike Francesca is from Mike and the Mad Dog old days?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said he has it on good authority that Spo, for personal reasons and others, because he thinks that Miami's getting ready to do a whole redo thing, that he wants to move on. But he said he don't think that Riley would ever let him get out of his contract to come to the Knicks. But it sounds like Spo may be leaving Miami, even though they did an extension of a new contract because he don't want to do a redo with a team. And he said he has gone on authority for personal reasons. He wants to leave Miami. I don't know what the personal reasons are, but if Leon Rose ever replaces Tibbs with Spo, then I'm giving that man a statue.
Give him the statue when he wins the championship.
That will give I think that will give this team a championship.
Okay.
And I think and the funny thing, I think Tibbs, them injuries last year probably saved Tibbs last year. Because he only went 9 last year because of injury. First, he got more time, but Randall was out, and he played sparingly with him. I think the fact that he went 9 deep last year gave him an extra year. Or he might, if everybody was healthy, he probably did his number 7 and 8 that he trusts. But he had to go 9 and 10 last year. He had no choice. And that probably gave them, all right, let's give him an extension. We can't have him as a lame duck. He did play his bench more last year than this year. I think last year the injury saved him. They probably wanted to fire him last year.
I don't know. I guess we got to see what's we got to see what's up their sleeve, man. We got to see what's up their sleeve. I think the fact
I think it's gonna be Bryant though. Some tell me it's Bryant for how fast we're moving with this, and the fact that it just came out yesterday that he's close to signing with the Suns. I just got the funny feeling, and Leon Rose wants like Bryant, and I think Bryant left because he saw that Tibbs was gonna get an extension, so he had no shot here. That's why he went to Cleveland. I just think it's Bryant.
Can I ask, and then I want to find out from Steph and Jeff. So, what have we seen? I've seen people in the chat say that Johnny Bryant's a genius and that he's this and that. What have we seen from Johnny Bryant that lets you know that he's going to be an excellent head coach and a championship level head coach? What have we seen? So,
well, okay, I'll let you ask the panel first. But what I say, I'm thinking they seeing, he's the only coach on this damn team that was able to talk to Randall without something getting slapped back at him. To calm Randall down, to communicate with Randall, to get Randall to understand how his actions was hurting the team. So I think his communication skills with the players is what they're liking about him. And his schemes about movement offense and all that. But I think his communication with all players that he's been around so far, because he's been around star players. Spider's a star player, and Spider loves him to death. The guys in Cleveland seem to like him. They had been no beef with him. And the fact that he was able to talk to Randall and explain to Randall how his overreaction and Randall took it like a man and saw and didn't fight him. I think that communication skill is what is enticing him to the Knicks.
Okay. All right. Coach Fizdale had that same exact skill.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think that was a fake skill.
A fake skill?
I mean, did not like Fizdale. The Knicks players did not like.
I'm talking about when he was an assistant with Miami. He had that same skill, right? All the players loved Coach Fizdale. They all said he's going to be this great head coach. He knows how to talk to us. He knows how to get us to do this, that. That is actually the job of an assistant coach.
Exactly.
That is their job, to be able to smooth things over between the head coach and the assistant coach, to be able to sit down and talk with them about some things while the head coach is coaching. Let me have this conversation with you. That is one of the jobs of an assistant coach, to build those relationships. And I'm not discounting Johnny Bryant. I just want to know, what have we seen? Steph, your thoughts? What have we seen?
Well, we haven't seen anything because he hasn't been put in that position, Sim. But maybe I'm missing something because, and if somebody has this information, please put it in the chat. You would hear about the up and coming, like Lord, what's his name? Lord Pierce, who's now, he got his shot, I think, in Orlando. I think he's now on Indiana's bench. But you would hear his name, and you would hear his name mentioned among the up and coming assistant coaches.
Right.
You would hear about somebody being an associate head coach and that they're up and coming. Maybe because he was an associate head coach with the Knicks. I mean, he is a finalist for the Phoenix, for the Phoenix Suns job. So maybe that information is out there that he's an up and coming, head coach that I just haven't heard about. But this is my thing, Sam. Even if he is, if you're talking about winning a championship, listen, Emi Udoka came in, they still, I believe, got to the finals. Steve Kerr got to the finals. They won it. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen. But is that what do you want to put a championship contending team in the hands of a coach without NBA experience? Again, I'm not saying he can't take this team to a chip next year. Maybe he can, but is that the chance you want to take?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. And I don't want to hear about he communicate. That's the job of a assistant coach, to communicate. That's the job of an assistant coach to, on paper, this is what you need to do, pulling players to the side, giving them special attention, coaching them on offenses and where they can get their shots, in practice. That's not the same as bench coaching and calling the shots during a game and putting an offense together that actually works. It's just not the same. You're not going to know it until you do it.
Right. Jeff?
But Queen, none of them other sisters, the coaches, could talk to Randall. I think the fact
so
that
you
he
could be so because you could talk to Randall, you deserve to be a head coach.
To me, he's
I get his people skill. I get the people skill.
Right.
I'm just saying that's not enough, is what I'm saying.
I hear you.
He's an
I'm
unknown.
not saying he's my automatic one. I just think the Knicks may be going there because of the timing. Because why was it so fast?
Yes. No,
he's getting ready to go to the Phoenix Suns. They didn't want to talk to him.
Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
But why are we tying our championship hopes to a complete unknown? Like, you have no idea whether Johnny Bryant, like you're guessing, you're hoping, right? There's no track record here whatsoever. And if you are legitimately concerned, like if your only priority, as they said in their statement, was winning a championship, you're just going to hand the keys over to a guy who has not been a head coach for a minute in the NBA and say, this is our guy. He's definitely the guy who's going to get it done. When you don't have any track record that he's that guy. Like, if you want to replace Thibodeau, that's fine. If you want to say, he's not the guy to bring you to the next level, okay. But you're gonna bring in somebody who's a complete unknown and say, I don't know. To me, that lacks organizational common sense. To me, that doesn't add up to me. I don't see the logic behind, we're going to can this guy and we're going to bring in somebody who we hope is good, but we have no real proof that he's going to be good. But we just have a gut feeling that, and the other thing is Leon Rose probably doesn't get another head coach after this. If it fails with this next coach, he's probably out the door with him. Mm-hmm. So he's got to make this is maybe his last hire. And if this is your last hire, are you going with a guy with zero head coaching experience, zero playoff wins, as the guy that you're tying the future of your job with? I think that's organizational malpractice, in my opinion. I think that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that at all. And Johnny Bryant may be a fantastic coach. I have no idea. He could be, but I don't want to tie the future to this team and the future of this general manager and the future of Jalen Brunson to a guy who has no track record. I'm sorry. I don't think that's smart.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, I agree. But I want to ask this because, people bringing up Missoula and Udoka.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going, son.
Bringing up those two guys. Now, they both went to the championship with the same franchise, right? With the same players. Missoula won it with the Celtics. Do you look at those guys and say, because they're saying, they were first time head coaches, they didn't, what did we see in them? Yes, Johnny Bryant was with the Knicks, but now, he's in Cleveland. I think I don't know. They were with the franchise, and then they were promoted to that position, right? I don't know. Do you see, Steph, a difference in with Missoula and Udoka, and then with Johnny Bryant?
I mean, he was here. I mean, you can argue that once Tibbs got the extension, that's when he moved on to Cleveland, just figuring that he wouldn't get that opportunity. So, you can argue that he probably would have still been here, and it would have been, similar in the sense that he would have been the one to step up. I think he probably thought his chance was lost once they signed him to an extension. So yeah, I do see some similarities. Only that he went to Cleveland when they signed Thibodeau to the extension.
Right. So I mean, does that make you, just feel any differently, knowing that they were first time head coaches and they brought a team to the championship, even though that team was, they had been to the championship before those guys were the head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously stacked, does that make you look any differently or think any differently about it?
Yeah, I mean, they had him in the organization for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's another thing.
maybe they got along with him. That's a prerequisite. If there's any friction between the head coach and the front office, that's the beginning of your demise. If there's any friction between the head coach and your top players, that's another hit. But they had him in the organization, so I'm pretty sure they felt comfortable with him as a coach. They probably saw how he worked with the players, how the players responded to him. So I think that also, if they hire him, was probably part of it as well. How they judged him X's and O's wise, that part,
Right.
I'm not sure. Did he already have those conversations with them? I know Tony was saying maybe he was behind the scenes saying, look, Thibodeau was doing this. This is what I would do, with this,
Right.
with this lineup. Was he doing some of that? So I don't know if they have a good feel of him schematically, offensive schemes, defensive schemes. That part I don't know. But the other stuff, yeah, I do think they have a good feel for him, and I think that does give him the edge.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I'll say this, and the Knicks don't care. First of all, the Knicks don't care what I want, so that doesn't mean that Johnny Bryant's not going to be the head coach tomorrow. The one has nothing to do with the other. But what I will say in Johnny Bryant's defense is this: Leon Rose is a relationships guy.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everything, every move nearly that he's made has been based in a foundation of relationships, right? And so you have to figure whomever we bring in is going to be someone that he has previous dealings with, relationship with, where he feels comfortable bringing that guy in and giving him the keys to the castle. And I made the same argument when we hired Phil Jackson, and I was right. He was a terrible general manager. I made the same argument when we hired Leon Rose, and I was 100% wrong. He's been a terrific general manager. So just because you don't have experience doesn't mean you can't do the job. That is true. And if Johnny Bryant does get hired, he's getting hired on the basis of relationships.
Right.
And that is consistent with what Leon Rose has been throughout his tenure. Does that mean I think it's wise to tie your last hope to a coach who's never done it before? Not what I would do. Not what but if he has trust in those relationships, and I'm going to have faith in our general manager, which I think he's done a pretty good job. If that's the decision that he makes, I'm going to support it, even if I don't agree with it. Because look, anybody who's been on Queen's Court knows I'm wrong all the time. I'm going to be wrong again about these things. I'm not shy about that. And so, but to me, that's the only place where Bryant makes sense is from a relationship standpoint. But as long as Rose has been around the game, I find it hard to believe that Bryant is the only person that he would have relationship with that he would consider for the job when it's such an important juncture for this franchise,
right?
Not only player wise, but everything wise. I mean, you've got the Nets own our draft capital for like half of the next 6 years. You don't want to be stumbling and bumbling in that time and giving away lottery picks. We've got to, we have a consistent floor that we enjoyed with Thibodeau. Thibodeau and Brunson are second round of the playoff floor. That's what they've been. Like, you can say what you want to about it, but when that tandem has been together, that's been the minimum. Now, the maximum is not much higher than that, right? The maximum is 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, and if you want to argue they should have gone more than that, you're probably right. But does the next person who comes in, and if they have to learn on the job, do we get that same floor? Maybe we do because of Brunson, and maybe we do because of the way the relationships work. But that's a complete 100% unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. But I think the relationships between since Leon brung in the assistant coach, and he's the one that really likes him, and he's the one that really respects him. I think and there's some video now I just saw about a couple of hours ago while he's at Cleveland. I guess it's a video for like a resume video. He's explaining how you could do spread offense when you don't have everyone that has to shoot the ball, the movement of this. You could do score and spread offense. And he's explaining all this way and that way how the guys got to move. And it's from Cleveland. Cleveland did that for Johnny Bryant as a resume for him to get his thing out there about his thoughts and ideas on five-out offense without great shooters at every spot. So, again, I just think Leon Rose has a relationship with this dude. And he may not be the only one that gets interviewed, but he probably put him at high number one, and he's going to talk to other people. I think the only person that could beat out this guy right now is Spo. If there's some way Spo's leave in Miami, and we could still Spo. Because I don't think the Malone guy is going to work in Madison Square Garden, because the Malone guy has a tendency of talking about players at press conferences to get them motivated, and that's not going to work with a tied down, everybody keep it quiet in-house with Dolan and MSG. But he has a tendency to do that, Malone. And that's why I think even Begley said he's not hearing anything with the Knicks when it comes to Malone, because that part of his personality, he's like Tibbs, but Tibbs don't talk about players at press conference. He'll go back and behind the doors and square stuff out. This guy talks about players at the press conference to get them motivated, like Bill Parcells.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's going to fly here.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Johnny Bryant is he fits the character and professionalism role, or not, I don't want to say role, but like Leon Rose likes guys, players, coaches, whoever that have this level of professionalism. Poise, Johnny Bryant seems to have that, that maybe Leon Rose might like about him, or I mean, he, probably likes about him. He seems to have that type of that thing going for him, and just maybe in circles, I guess, because he was in Utah, New York, now Cleveland, and other head coaches got to hear his perspectives. See him teach in practice, and so it gets around that way. I don't know if it's coach driven, league driven, or if it's fan driven that Johnny Bryant is the next thing coming. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I think if you do hire Bryant, you've got to have someone like a Mike Woodson, or someone who's been there before on the staff with them, just because. Rookie head coach is gonna need someone who's been through the wars and has handled it adeptly, and I think someone who has experience of doing it in New York would be helpful. So I don't know if you want D'Antoni or Woodson or somebody, just somebody with stability that's been in the organization that knows what it's like to have that head job, kind of like Herb Williams was a Knick assistant for 8,000 years. Somebody like that.
Let me ask y'all guys a question. The Tennessee coach that got fired, that did the job. Do you think he will come in as an assistant coach to the Knicks? Because he's a defensive coach, and that's what Johnny Bryant would need. Or you think he'd be worried about trying to steal his job?
I think if you hire Johnny Bryant or whoever, you got to let that guy pick their assistant coaches, right? I don't think you got to let that guy.
The Knicks only don't. Tim, the Knicks don't always do that. They pick the coaches for Tibbs the first year. The Knicks don't always let the coach pick his. He'll let them pick one or two, but then they pick out the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but you gotta let that guy pick his coaches, man.
That's a good point, Sam.
You got to.
But you don't think they're gonna say you got to have a veteran on? You got to pick a veteran coach.
Right. They might say, we want you to have a veteran. Someone pick somebody who can give you this support. Yeah, definitely that. Definitely that. The only guy, guy that might have to stick around is Rick, because of Jalen. And if it was,
I think they could
Hey,
move Rick up into the front office though, and still have him be around.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
They could make him assistant general manager and pretzel vendor or something. You know.
Yeah. You know, and if it's Johnny Bryant, you know, he probably already has a relationship with Rick. Hopefully it's a good relationship, but probably already has a relationship with him.
Right.
Yeah, and the Mo Cheeks of the world, because I never see Mo talking to no players. So I'm like, what? Try no more. You sit there back in the third row. You're here to help the guards out. I'll never see Mo talking to nobody, so I ain't gonna miss Mo Cheeks if he's gone. I think Mo Cheeks was just catching a paycheck. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna find out if it's Brian in the next, like Queen said, in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
if he gets hired quick, that was Worldwide Wrestling was already talking to him behind the scenes. I hope he don't lose a second round draft pick because of that, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see. Silk, I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you.
Great call, Silk.
Why is there an Indiana Pacers fan in here? Isn't your team in the NBA Finals? Why are you worried about the Knicks? Go jump on a Pacers podcast. I don't understand.
They're just
why.
too good, Sim. They just want to watch the best. That's all.
Right. You know, like what is this? We get to another call here. Caller, you're live. Name me where you're from, please.
Hey, Sims, what's going on?
What's going on? Name, where you from?
Nev the Disruptor.
Oh, this is Nev. This is Nev. What's up, Nev? What's going on, Nev?
Just here, man. You know, finally, the thing I've been calling for a long time finally happened. So, you know, I am ecstatic.
You're calling the gloat.
You know, because
you're calling the gloat.
I haven't liked this coach for a long time. You know, and I thought that, and I've said it many times, the one place management has gone wrong is was hiring teams. I've said that many times. And history has proven me right. Because, again, the two assistants that passed it interviewed these two assistants. Just like we're in the process of interviewing some assistant again. One was Ime Udoka. The other one was Jason Kidd. Are you sitting here today and tell me those two guys wouldn't have been good coaches? One of them wouldn't have been coaches for the Knicks? Yeah, we wouldn't be worried. We wouldn't be heading peering into the future and worrying about a coach. Of course not. You know. So when I hear, and I like Steph a lot, even the other guy, I forgot his name. When I hear them talking about the fear of a new coach coming in, that it drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. Because if we're going to have that mentality of a new coach, that we must stick with something old and be afraid of the unknown, we will never get the next great coach. You know, because that's what paralyzed us in the first place. That's what got us where we are today. That we miss an opportunity. Because I've been saying that for a while now. This coach could
Ime
not
Udoka
win
lost
a
in the first
title.
round with the Houston Rockets.
Right.
What are you talking about? They lost in the first round.
We interviewed Steph. We interviewed the guy. We could have hired him.
But he lost in the first round. So how are you saying we missed out on someone? They were the number of whatever seed they were, and they lost in the first round.
Right. They were 2 or 3. They were a top 4 seed.
So how did we lose out? Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you told me we interviewed him and he went to the championship and won, I would say you're correct.
Okay, you want to say he lost in the first round with Houston, but he also took Boston to the finals. Okay?
And so did the coach before.
He has done it 2 places. He has actually done it 2 places.
But Nev, check it out. The coach before him took the Boston Celtics to the finals, and the coach after him took the Boston Celtics to the finals. So was it the coaches or was that the team construction? Like, the team was just that good.
Yes, but it's also the coach. It's the similar problem we're having. Because if it's not the coach, if it's just the players, then we should be heading to the finals today. And I would not have picked Indiana to come out of the East, because that's the team I picked to come out of the East. Not New York, not Boston, Indiana.
Okay.
I actually believe the Knicks have more talent than Indiana. Definitely. Much more talent than Indiana. But Indiana is a better team than the Knicks. Because the Knicks are a talented team.
They're not
a team. They're talented players.
Is your more talent name-based?
Indiana.
Is your more talent name-based? Because they're way more deeper than we are.
They're way more deeper because they have developed their players over several years.
Oh, my God.
They play 10 guys. At first,
Can I ask you this? Hold up. But check this out. Okay. All right. I'm going to agree with you. They developed their players over several years, right? So, was Landry Shamet on this team last year or the year before or the year before that? No, he was not. No, he was not. Was Campaign on this team last year or the year before that or the year before that? No, it was not.
No.
Was Wright on this team last year or the year before that or the year before that? No, it was not. Was Dadier on this team the year before that? Last year or the year before that or the year before that or the year before that? No. Was Tyler Kolek on the team last year or the year before that or the year before that or the year before that? No. Was Huck Porty on the team last year or the year before that or the year before that or the year before that? No. So how can you say that the Pacers developed their bench over years and then blast the Knicks for not developing their bench when their bench hadn't been here for years?
Because
so you can't say that the Knicks. Hold on.
Yes.
Wait a minute. You can't say that the Knicks didn't develop their bench over years.
Yes, you can.
Why? When Deuce. Hold up. Deuce
yes, you can.
Listen, Nev. Listen. Deuce has been here for years. Was he in the rotation?
Yes, he was to some degree. Not even to a full extent. To some degree.
He played like 20 minutes a game.
Come on, Sims. Even Deuce. If you ask Deuce, could you have played more minutes? Would you like to play more minutes? He will tell you definitely yes.
Yeah. And any player is going to say, yeah, I want to play more minutes. But listen to what I'm saying, though. Hold up.
Because
listen,
Deuce
Nev,
is some... No, Sim. Let me make this point. Deuce is something this coach should have trusted.
Nev, I need you to listen. I need you to listen to me. I don't want to have to bang the phone on you, man. I need you to listen to me. If you're going to say the Pacers and even OKC developed their bench over years, that means their same players, they had these same players over 2 or 3 years to develop them. Some of them players some years may not have played, right? And they worked their way into the lineup. They got better. The coach got more confident in them. When you look at the Knicks bench, none of those players, besides Deuce, and Precious was there last year, have been on this team for years. Now, if you look and you say, we got Dadier, we got Kolek, we got Huck Porty, okay, they didn't play much last year. Maybe they play some this year. Now, in the third year, they're in a rotation. You can say, oh, we developed the bench over years. But when you look at young players that Tom Thibodeau did have that developed, Emmanuel quickly developed over 2 or 3 years and was in the rotation. Deuce developed over 2 or 3 years in the rotation. Right? We had, what's his name with Philadelphia? Quentin Grimes. He was slated to be a starter on this team. But he was developed over 2 or 3 years. These guys got traded away, which made us top heavy. Right? They got traded away to get OG. Right? Traded away. Well, Quentin Grimes didn't get traded for Cap, but these guys got traded away, which made us top heavy. If these guys were still on the team, listen, maybe they would have been developed and been playing on the bench. And we would have had a deeper team with a deeper bench. I mean, that's something that we've got to understand. So you can't say they developed their bench over a couple of years, but their players were on the team for a couple of years, and we got guys who've been here for a couple of months. It doesn't make sense.
James, I have said that to you. If I am a boss of people, if I'm a boss of a team, if I'm going to make a trade, my coach is intimately involved with those decisions. I'm going to trade Cat, weaken my bench. My coaches, I am not going to make that trade behind his back. This would be a malpractice for me to do that. That means you know what we're going to go through. I am going to trade for Cat. I'm going to give 2 players away. That means I'm going to count on you to find other guys on the team because this is a new cap salary. This is a new salary system. Aprons, we have apron 1 and 2. We cannot do much. So therefore, it's your job as a coach to find players, even in the G League, wherever you want to get these players some rest, to at least get a comfort level that you can bring these guys in the game. And the funny thing is, you know what's so crazy about this whole thing, Sims, is that it takes Game 3 in the Eastern Finals for this guy to play 10 guys. That's my practice, Sims. Literally my practice. Because if you're desperate to win a game, no coach extend their roster. They shrink it. That's what they do. If you are so desperate to win this game, they should have shrunk his roster to 6. But if he had done that, the Knicks would have been swept.
But maybe,
so he extended to 10.
But no.
It is malpractice, Sam.
No, maybe he was looking and grasping for straws. Maybe he was looking and grasping for straws.
What happened?
Maybe he was grasping for straws, grasping for a lineup that was going to work.
Yes, but grasping for straw and extending the rotation, something he did not want to do all year, is malpractice. And if these players can help you win a Game 3 in the Eastern Conference, they should have been helping you all along.
No, they didn't help in Game 6.
Yeah, they should have been helping you all along.
They didn't
and
help.
Anybody will tell you that.
They didn't
no
help.
coach should be doing that.
They didn't help in Game 6. What happened?
Why you expect them to do it when you haven't played them?
I mean, they had just been playing.
Look,
As a matter of fact, there was a point.
It's just like we're telling somebody, Sims. It's just like we're telling somebody, get on a bike after the person haven't ridden a bike for a year.
So why did they
sit on the bench right there? And now tell them get on the bike and do everything.
Listen, so why are you sitting here and telling me that they just made us win Game 3?
Because they gave these guys some rest.
So why didn't it work in Game 6?
They gave those guys rest.
So why didn't it work in Game 6?
What? Because no, we're telling them to do it on the road. Since this is not even home. We're asking them to do it in Indiana.
So why didn't it work in Game 4?
If we wanted them to do Indiana, Sims, if we wanted them to do it in Indiana, why didn't we play them all year? So there would be a comfort level.
It worked in Game 3. How come it didn't work in Game 4?
Because I don't know. You know what? I don't know. But I know what he did was malpractice.
Okay.
Because if you can do it again, if you can do it in the Eastern Conference Finals, you should have been doing it all year.
And if you can do it in Game 3, then you should have did it in Game 4. You should have did it in Game 6.
Come on, James. You know better. You're a coach.
Come on,
Players
man.
don't always come.
I mean, what I'm saying is the bench.
The players don't, especially if you're not playing them.
They're not.
If I'm not playing you, why do I?
I just don't think they're that.
Why are you going to? Are you going to
good.
perform at a high level in a big game at a critical shit? Everybody have fears. Everybody has to go through anxiety.
I don't think
that's why we want to. That's why we want to play these plays to get rid of this shit.
I don't think they were that.
To able to handle that.
Now, and you know what's gonna happen, Nev? I'm gonna let you go. I know at the same time that you called, somebody else was calling in. I appreciate your call always.
Right,
I know you called to gloat and did a good job gloating too.
I called to gloat, man, because I wanted to see this team win a title.
Okay.
But I know it wasn't going to happen under this coach.
All right. Well, hopefully it happens under the next
one.
one.
I've said that many times.
Yeah, I hope it happens. Who's your next coach? Just tell me quickly. Give me your name. Who's your next coach?
My next coach is Johnny Bryant.
Okay.
Again, right. I am not I'm not scared of the future, like Steph has said and thing. So therefore, I'm willing to take a chance on Johnny Bryant. And if it doesn't work, take a field. But I am not going to let another good coach that can be great, because I'm scared of the unknown.
Don't know.
I'm just not going to do that.
You don't know if he's going to be great. You're taking a chance. You're taking a flyer. And you don't know. Let's not just assume that he's going to be great or that he is.
No. I'm not saying he's assumed. What I'm saying, I'm willing to take a chance on the unknown.
Okay. It's Leon Rose because it's Leon Rose's job.
I'm willing to do that.
Well, it's
because that's how I know.
I know.
I know. The last point, Sims. Let me make this last one before we go.
Yep. Yes, sir.
There is a reason, and there's very few people invent stuff. There's a reason that we only have a small minority of a population, a world population inventing shit. And the number one reason is fear of the unknown. When you're scared to take a chance, when you're scared to embrace, the future, the possibility, you stay with the status quo.
Okay.
And for me, I don't want the Knicks to do that.
Right.
I'd rather them take a chance on Johnny Bryant. If Johnny Bryant cannot cut it, find somebody else. But not be scared to take a chance.
Okay. All right.
And
I feel you.
The possibility he might turn out to be pretty good.
You're right. There is a possibility. No doubt about it. Hey,
all right.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one. We took a chance on Fizdale. We took a chance on what's his name?
Derek Fisher.
It's not like Kurt Rambis. Yeah, it's not like the Knicks haven't taken chances on first-year coaches. The Knicks haven't had the same success as maybe some other teams with first-year coaches either. Now, those guys took jobs of teams that were not good, that didn't have a lot of talent or developed talent. Canberry, thank you for the super chat. Said the caller is right. Udoka took the Rockets team to the 2 seed without a single All-Star. That's wild. We missed on a great coach, and they also lost in the first round.
Isn't Şengün an All-Star?
I think. Was he an All-Star? I think he was an All-Star.
Pretty sure he was.
Yeah.
A reserve. I don't think he was a starter, but I think Şengün is even if he didn't get named to the team, Şengün is an All-Star.
Yeah.
Like, let's not disrespect the man.
Funny got it. Said Payne and Shamet wasn't getting minutes on their way out the league. Let's be real. That's true. They were on their way out the league.
Shamet missed half the season with injury, and Wright came at the trade deadline.
Exactly.
We're really talking about a window of like 30 games, and when the two kids did get minutes, I say kids, the two guys did get minutes in the regular season, they weren't good.
Yeah.
So, like, can we give this a rest, please? It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
They did a good job for a few minutes in the playoffs. If we played Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright for 32 minutes in Game 6, I don't think it's changing the outcome, folks.
Right. It's not. Do you think if we hire an older coach though, do you think it's like retreading? If we hire,
Could be. Could
you
be.
know,
I mean, there are fewer unknowns with someone who's done it before, though. That's my thing. Like Johnny Bryant, the idea of Johnny Bryant is great, but you don't. I guarantee you, Johnny Bryant's going to come in here if that's the hire, and there are going to be things that he does that drive Knicks fans crazy, and they're going to hate it. You know why? Because every head coach is not going to do every single thing that all of us want them to do all of the time. And when that happens, that's when criticism emerges. And that's fine. That's what we're here to do. But Johnny Bryant is not a panacea. He's not a perfect coach either. He's never won anything. He has 0 coaching wins to his credit. He has 0 losses, which makes it more palatable, I suppose. But he's going to have to learn on the job. You're going to have games where maybe the decision making, because he's in the hot seat for the first time, isn't great, and it could cost us a game. And that game could be game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Right.
And then where are you at, right? So, look, I don't care who we pick. I'm going to root for them, but I would rather the devil I know than the devil I don't know. That's my philosophy on it. And it's perfectly fine. If you want to embrace the unknown, that's fine. But to me, that's just buying a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a tough decision, Sam. I think this is a tough decision because for me, it's not about the particular name. For me, I'm interested in the schematics. I'm interested in how are you going to get the best out of Cat and Brunson. How are you going to get the best out of this roster? There's no way to know that than to interview. But even when you interview, there's no way to know it until you know it, because that's on paper, right? Does it, you have to actually put it to work. And there could be some up and coming coaches who would just need an opportunity. So I'm not, I get that. They just need an opportunity. They know the schematics. They know how to bench coach. They're just looking for an opportunity. And then you have these old heads that, is Budenholzer a tactician? He won a championship. How much of that was him being a tactician? Right. How much of him was having Giannis? You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing with
Malone.
With Mike Malone. Now, what I like about Mike Malone is that, he coached the Joker, so maybe he'll have some offensive sets that'll help maximize Cat. He is a defensive-minded coach as well. And he had that team, they maximized their offense. That was, I think, a top 12, 13 defense. They leaned into their offense. Their defense was just good enough, and they were able to win a championship. Could he do the same thing with this team? Maybe. But if you're looking for Mike Malone to play a lot of young players, that's not happening. That's just, to play a long bench, that's not happening either. As far as that's concerned, that's similar. That's similar to Thibodeau. I just think it's a tough decision. My preference is somebody with experience, but that person has to have more than just experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You got to be a tactician. Yeah. After watching Carlisle, you got to be a tactician, not just not just have experience. Yeah. And I think that's a lot to ask. Somebody with experience that's also a tactician. Those jobs they got a job.
They got a job.
Spoke has a job.
They have a job, right?
They have jobs already.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's what makes it so tough, And it's such a big. This is such a big move for the Knicks franchise, because you get the feeling that we're on the cusp of being able to make it to the finals, win the championship. Big move for Leon Rose, you know what I mean? So you got to believe that Leon Rose is I think going one of two ways. It's going to be very, very thorough in the coaching search, or already knows who the guy is. One of the two. I feel like he already knows who the guy is. Right. It happened so quick. The Knicks put it out quick. Like, let's get this done so we can get this guy now. You know what I mean? And I think in the next couple of days we're gonna
Becky
find out
Hammond.
who that is. Her and Brunson will need to have a conversation first.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
They will need to have a
Right.
convo first. Shoot.
But Sim, the other thing for Leon Rose, his job is on the line with this next coaching hire.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna, I think you mentioned it earlier. I don't think he's gonna have another opportunity to pick another coach. So who he picks right now has to be the one, because now you changed the coach, you brought in Bridges, you've changed the roster, you brought the next thing is you.
All right.
Yep, you're gonna be the next thing
right.
to change, right? So he's gonna have to, pick somebody who he feels comfortable with, that he feels is gonna maximize the players he brought in. He brought in all of these players, except for who? Deuce? Was he here? No, he was here for Deuce.
Mitch
except for except for Mitch. He brought in these players.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Except for Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he has to bring in somebody that will make him look good, that make him, tie these pieces together, bring his vision together.
Yeah. The scary thing, and I don't know if it was already the trajectory of the team, but Tom Thibodeau's coached two teams, the Bulls and Minnesota. And immediately after, those teams became bad. It took Minnesota some while. Minnesota eventually made it back, but those teams became pretty bad. Hopefully that's not the case with the Knicks.
If Jalen Brunson is healthy, this team's not going to be bad. He's like Patrick Ewing. He gives us a baseline of confidence. If he's healthy, that's a 40 to 45 win team. And it's not great, but it's not championship caliber. But I can't. If he's healthy, I don't envision a scenario where this team is just Washington.
But that's bad, Jeff. No, no, but for where we are now and for what our aspirations are, becoming a 40 to 45 win team, to me, that's a significant step back.
Yeah.
It is.
Right. So
agreed.
You got to make this is big. The coolest, thank you for the super chat, said something tells me Rick Brunson might be the next coach. Call me crazy. I'm gonna call you crazy because I don't I'm not seeing it. I don't picture Rick Brunson I'm not picturing him as a head coach. Maybe he is in a Udoka type of guy. I don't know. I'm not picturing it. But you never know.
Yeah. I don't think Leon Rose would put his fate in the hands of Rick Brunson.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what he's doing with this next hire.
Right. And I don't see Rick Brunson being a tactician.
Yeah.
I don't see that. It's not Rick. I don't know who it is. Ain't Rick. It's gonna be it's definitely gonna be interesting. It's gonna be, we probably won't know until it happens, right? That's the way this front office has been working. Right? It probably we won't know. We didn't know this was gonna happen. It just bam. It happened.
Yeah.
So we probably won't know until it happens. I'm really looking forward to it. I agree with you, Steph. I would really like to have someone who is a tactician, who can relate to the players, tactician, who can get the best out of the offense, who is not afraid to mix it up on defense either. Use some zone, do some more trapping throughout the game instead of just straight up man-to-man all the time, especially with the team that we have, right? Having two guys, your two best guys who aren't the best defensively, a zone might be able to help you out a little bit, and release a little bit of pressure off of them. So I'm hoping we get a guy that's not afraid to do that on both sides of the ball. It's interesting, man. Never a dull moment in the world of the Knicks ever. Paris, thank you for the super chat. He said $1 billion biz, and y'all think they don't know. You're right. They have an idea. They got some names on the board. You know what I mean? They got some names out there.
And I'm sure that was in their calculus when they fired him. I'm sure it was like, these are our choices. We can stick with Thibodeau, or we can, look at candidate X, Y, Z, et cetera. You know what I mean? And part of that calculus is, okay, we feel comfortable with the fact that any one of these guys is greater than what we have now.
Yeah. And I think they already know that they can get the guy that they want, or one of the coaches that they want. Because I don't think you fire Tom Thibodeau if you don't know that you have a guy that you can get, or a coach that you can get. I just don't. I don't think you make that move if you don't know. You know what I mean? Especially, you just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. If you don't know that, and you're like, at least in your brain, you're like, this guy, this coach is better and really has a chance to get us over the top. We got to make this move now. You don't do it.
The only exception to that, Sim, is if the locker room schisms were so noticeable, so obvious, so apparent that a change had to be made, and in which case that would be the only exception, I think, to that, is that, and it kind of looked like that there was kind of a dividing line with Cat and McCall over here, and OG and Hart and Brunson over here, and Mitch and Deuce kind of stuck in the middle. Like, it definitely felt like there was some politics and some behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about, that didn't get reported, that was, I mean, to have as many players only meetings as they had, to me, I don't know, but that doesn't seem normal. Like, it seemed like every other day that's like, all right, players only meeting. All right, we fixed it for today. Then something else goes wrong. Another players only meeting. Well, where is the synergy from top to bottom in the organization between players, coaches, and front office? Like, those are the organizations that succeed, is when you have that synergy from top to bottom. That doesn't mean you agree all the time. It just means that you can have that discussion and that discourse openly without a closed door meeting that doesn't include the coach.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't really see that as a negative. How many teams have we heard of where they have their fractions and they're not together and they just go their own separate way? Like, to have meeting after meeting tells me that, listen, something is not right with this team, and it's internal. It's not about the game plan. It's not about that. There is something amongst us that's not right, and we have to get it together.
Right.
And when it rears its head up again, we're gonna have another meeting, as opposed to just fractions and people not caring and people going their separate ways. So I'm not sure that's a reflection. I guess it depends on what the meetings are about. In terms of whether it's a reflection on the head coach or not. It depends on what was the gist of the meetings. If the meetings were, come on, we're doing it again, y'all not following the game, that's a little different.
Yeah. And so, well, Paris Duggar, thank you for the super chat. Said probably can't announce it until the finals are over. That might be true. I don't know. I mean, they announced this.
I think they can announce it anytime they hire.
Yeah, I guess they should be. I don't know.
I mean, the NBA may not be real happy with that announcement overshadowing the finals, but I'm sure they're not overly thrilled with the firing news overshadowing the mini market matchup there. OKC, Indiana.
I guess at least it happened before they start playing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Right. So let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, so they had the end of the season meetings, and that's usually when they have it, right? Like a day or two after the loss, you do have it. But like Ian Begley said, they changed the format now. The Knicks changed the format, had the owner in there. You don't think if you're going to do it that way, give the players enough time to kind of settle down from all of the emotionality, all of the whatever you're feeling, because I come in the next day, yeah, I'm not feeling him. He only played me 15. He only played me 15.
Right. Right.
I mean, if it's the regular meetings, fine, because you're used to that. But if you talking about, listen, I think we're gonna get rid of the coach. I want to see what the players have to say about him. Let them cool down a little bit.
Yeah, I
before
agree.
you have those meetings.
I agree, because they could come in with all anything. They all riled up, feelings hurt. He, cursed at me at halftime. Anything,
I ain't get the ball enough. Had it went through me, we wouldn't be in this position.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Let him calm down a little bit, and then talk to him. And
listen, from a basketball standpoint, I get it. From a basketball standpoint, I get it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have the support of the players, I get it there too.
I think it just, to me, makes it seem like, they wanted to know, they needed, they saw some things maybe, and they were like, all right, let's talk to the players, because I'm seeing some things, and I think we need to, we might need to make a move.
And maybe they did want to talk
Let's
to the
confirm
players
it with them.
Yeah.
With some emotion to it. In other words, if you have time to chill and relax and think about it, you may not be as brutally honest as they need you to be. And maybe they wanted the honest, off-the-cuff reaction, understanding that there was going to be some emotionality in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Well, we got to. I hope it happens. I just want it to happen soon.
Me too.
I don't think they're going to waste a lot of time with it, to be honest with you. There's not really any reason to drag the thing out. Like, you know what I mean?
If they know.
Yeah.
If they know.
Even if they don't know, you can get the people that you want interviewed quickly. Like, I mean, you're going to tell me they have a team of people, they can identify candidates, you know what I mean? And get them interviewed pretty quickly, I think. So I don't, I know we don't have a lot of picks, but you've got the draft and free agency coming up. So I'm sure you're going to want to,
that's true.
You want to give your coaching staff a chance to come in, at least get settled, look at the roster, kind of make a determination how we're going to go and what we're going to do. I would think you'd want to get the hire done before the finals are over at any rate.
Right.
I agree. Sam, and I think you answered this question, Jeff, I'm not sure. Even if you have a person identified, would you still go through the process and interview other coaches just to see, or this is your guy, you identified him, let's just rock, let's just go?
I think I would go through other coaches just to see, just in case somebody surprises me. And also I think, during those interviews, I would ask people, how would you feel about being an assistant coach? And then be able to give a list to whoever that coach is and say, hey, what do you think about these guys? We like these guys, but, they're willing to be an assistant coach. How do you feel about them? So now you open up that pool as well.
I agree with Sam. I think you interview, I think you at least interview 4 or 5 candidates, bring people in, get their opinions, because that way you gather information about the team, because everybody who you interview is going to give you their own perspective about your roster, your players, what they think of the core that you have, and all that information is useful whether you hire that person or not. So I feel like, the playoffs were an information gathering time for us. And one of the pieces of information that came out was that our front office didn't think we had the right head coach to get us to the next level, right? That was one of the things that was determined from the information gathering from being in the Eastern Conference Finals. And so now that information gathering process has to continue. What does our roster look like to other people? What do they think our strengths are? What do they think our weaknesses are? Where do they think we need to improve? All of those things I think are helpful as we move forward.
Yeah.
And my last question, Can you talk to a head coach? Can you talk to a coach who has a job to see to gauge their interests?
No.
Because I know you would
have
have to negotiate with the
from
front
team first. I think I'm pretty sure you have to get permission from the team. You contact the team, and if they give you permission to talk to them, then you're allowed to. But then
you got to give compensation.
You may have to compensate them for if you decide to.
Hypothetically, just hypothetically, which organization would you want to ask? Can we speak to your coach? It's not going to happen. But hypothetically, is there a coach that's coaching now where you would ask them the front office to speak to them? You said Ty Lue.
I mean,
I would probably.
I would if I was going to ask, I would definitely ask about Spo. Kenny Atkinson.
Riley's gonna flat out say no to that, though.
Right.
You can ask all you want to.
I know.
Pat Riley is not gonna.
That's true.
Pat Riley be like,
and the compensation,
pounds and bridges.
Right. Oh my goodness.
We gave up all of our picks in the Bridges trade. We don't have them to give for Spo.
Yeah, for real.
Somebody said Dallas. I would for Kidd.
For Kidd? I would too. I like Jason Kidd. I like Jason Kidd.
Speak to him.
Yeah. I think Jason Kidd would do a really good job with this team. Yeah.
And he's been known to leave organizations before. Didn't he leave Milwaukee?
Yeah. He has. He's been known.
Yeah.
We got Trey from Maryland on the line. Trey, what's going on, man?
What's good, y'all? What's going on, fam? Sim, Queen, Jeff.
Trey,
appreciate everybody,
in
the chats and all that stuff. Look, but before I go into a possible rant, let me just say this first thing. Thank you to Coach Thibodeau for getting us out the mud.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for making the Knicks relevant again, the childhood team I rooted for. Thank you for getting us into these playoff conversations and into this title conversation. With that being said, right, I just find it amazing that, and this is not directed at y'all, this is just me just going off. I'm seeing a lot of social media posts. I just got off my podcast with my homie Maestro. Shout out to Maestro. He's not even a Knicks fan, and he's upset that the Knicks let go of Thibodeau. Guys, we got to stop acting like the Knicks done something unprecedented here. This is nothing new here. I understand the one side where you say he got this new team to the conference finals. They got it to a step, further than they did the previous year. I understand the opportunity to give him another chance at coaching his team. I mean, you heard me, Queen, last night when I was on your program. The question went around, would you take Tibbs back? And I think everybody agreed that we would take Tibbs back for the season. Me, Trey Frazier, I would take Tibbs back to be the head coach. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with looking at it from a micro viewpoint and looking at these games the way we do as fans, because we watch all 82 games during the regular season, and we watch all these playoff games against these teams. So we're more into the team. We know the ins and outs more than people on the outside looking in. That, yeah, there's some flaws in terms of schematics, in terms of being able to utilize the bench, in terms of utilizing the bench during the regular season to see what you got in preparation for the postseason. Yeah, there's a legit conversation about having a offense or defense that's just maybe not built for this modern day NBA. Absolutely. I can understand that point. So for the people that are just so on one side of this whole thing, look, like I said in the beginning, there's nothing unprecedented that the Knicks did here. I mean, the Celtics got rid of Ime Udoka the year he took the team to the finals. Well, what are we talking about here?
There was some circumstances
different
behind
reasons,
that.
though.
Yeah, that was some circumstances.
That's non-basketball reason.
Yeah.
Sure, I get that. But they got somebody in there that had no coaching experience, that was wet behind the ears, and they got to the conference finals the next year. And then eventually the following year, they won a championship. So for people to come out and say, oh, now the Knicks are trash again, this is the same old Knicks, it's the dumbass Knicks team. Like, come on. There's nothing wrong with taking chances. The Warriors took a chance on Steve Kerr years ago. The Raptors took a chance on Nick Nurse some years ago. Why can't the Knicks do the same thing? If it's Johnny Bryant, so be it. I don't mind having a Johnny Bryant on here. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pressure. But okay, they see something, they feel like they need to fix it, and so they made the change. I'm good with it either way. Again, thanks to Coach for, getting us out the mud and, getting us to relevancy again. But they saw something that was wrong, particularly in the playoffs. I don't know if it was that they thought they should have beat the Pacers, which they should be thinking anyway, especially after you knock the champs out, right? So what if they didn't knock the champs out? Would they have still held on to Coach Thibodeau if they didn't knock the champs out? Who knows?
According to reporting,
but
he was in trouble after Game 3 of the Celtics series, according to Begley.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I'm not shedding a tear. Let me put it this way. I would have been fine bringing him back next year, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily shedding a tear for the guy. Like, we've seen what he's done with the Bulls, getting them out the mud, but we've seen that with his style of coaching, there's a ceiling that you can only get so far with. Same thing in Minnesota. Got that team up out the mud after a 14-year playoff drought. Didn't last certainly long there, but they kind of saw, hey, this coaching style was only going to be up to a particular ceiling and possibly not a championship level ceiling.
What was
I
that?
think the Knicks are seeing something here. I think Leon sees something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that. Hey, Trey, I'm not sure.
Let's find out what this is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if that's what it was in Minnesota. I think there was just other things because he was also
general manager.
He was also
too,
the general manager in Minnesota. He was the general manager and the head coach in Minnesota. I think it was more than just basketball stuff.
Okay.
And after he left, go look at the record after he left.
Yeah, you can make a case for Chicago too.
Mm-hmm.
They took a chance, just like I mentioned those other teams. They took a chance on somebody that didn't have coaching experience. The Bulls did it, and it didn't work out. Minnesota did it, and it didn't work out the first few years. Knicks are taking a risk, and I'm fine with that.
But you're fine with it, Trey. But you know what? For those who aren't, they're allowed not to be. You know what I mean? Those who aren't fine with it, they're allowed not to be. Listen, I understand it. I'm good either way. Had they brought him back, I would have been okay. Letting him go, I'm okay. For me, the schematics and the lineups have to be on point. It just has to be. Like, to me, it's not necessarily so much the bench as much as it is Deuce. I think Deuce could have helped us. So to me, it's not about playing the end of the bench, playing Precious, playing Kolek. To me, it's not even about that. It's about maximizing even that top seven.
Yeah.
Combinations of players that you put on the court.
Yeah, the combination of players, correct. Playing Josh Hart too much. You know what I mean? To me, it's about that, not the end of the bench so much. I'm not saying that's not a fair point, but to me, that's not the issue I'm having. I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at it from two different viewpoints. Legitimately, I don't think it's one side makes a lot more sense than the other side does. I think you can legitimately make a case that it was the right thing to do, and possibly it's the wrong thing to do. We just got to see how this plays out moving forward.
Right.
Great call, Trey.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to play something for you guys, and I want to know what you guys think.
Okay.
About this. This is Stephen A. Smith on Tibbs firing, and about Leon Rose. All right, so real quick.
No, they're not a step closer. And to be quite honest with you, I think we all as New Yorkers should find Leon Rose's statement offensive. Get the hell in front of a microphone and a camera and answer questions. Stop being a coward, because that's how he's acting. I'm not calling him that as a man or as a person. I'm saying that's how he's been acting as president of the New York Knicks when it comes to communicating with the media and articulating the decisions that you make and why they are being made.
What do you think about that? Now, I haven't heard everything about how he feels about Tom Thibodeau. I get the sense that he's not happy with it, but when you look at the statement, right? He said some things in the statement. The beginning of the statement, our organization is singularly, I struggle with that word a little bit, focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction, right? I mean, you're straight up saying this guy can't win us a championship, right? So that's the reason why we're letting him go, because he can't win us a championship, which can be damaging to his career, right? I mean, the guy, someone that brought you in, that is your friend, is now saying, no, he can't win us a championship, and he's saying it publicly. It's not like, we decided it's best to move on, or he's saying we want a championship, and because of that, we got to let go of Tibbs. Do you think Leon Rose should come out publicly and talk about it and answer questions?
I would love that. But for him, he's saying, I did. I put out my statement. That's probably what he's thinking. But I would love for him to come out and, and talk about, these are our aspirations. And, I don't know if he would get into the specifics about why they felt he wasn't a championship coach. I'm not sure. Well, that he couldn't get them there. I'm not sure he would get into specifics anyway. But of course, I would love to hear from him.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think if Screaming A is against it, that makes me a lot more comfortable, because I rarely agree with his perspective. But and I think those out there like Uncle Fulio, Josh, salute to you, my guy, would definitely agree with this sentiment about get out in front of a microphone. You owe us this. You talk to us. I don't really care. I honestly. Who's the next coach? Okay, that's your decision. Like, I don't care. I mean, did I want him to get fired? No, but they have more information than me. That it's their team. It's his job on the line. Like, do your thing. Just who's next? Like, I don't need explanations in a press conference. And I mean, personally, doesn't matter to me, but it does matter to some people, and they're perfectly within their right to want those things. They just don't matter to me.
Yeah. Okay. Trey. What?
Yeah.
What do you think? And then I'm gonna play. Then I'm gonna play a little bit of what he thinks about Tibbs being out afterwards. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, coming from Stephen A., you got to remember Stephen A. is a member of the media, and we know that the organization has shut out certain media outlets in the city. I believe ESPN is one of them. So I think it's a little bit personal with Stephen A. when it comes to Leon Rose not speaking in front of the media. Would I like to hear Leon Rose come out with a statement and speak to the media about why the decision? Sure. I think any fan would, want their representative to come out and speak. I just don't expect it, I guess is where, I'm coming from. I don't expect it. I think he's done a great job with putting this roster together. I think he's done a great job kind of overall. I'm not going to change tune about whether he talks to the media or not, just based off of just this one move here. I think, like Jeff said, hey, just focus on finding the next coach. And if we are in play for a big star in the off season, then go out and get it done. That's all I care about.
Okay. I would like to hear from him because it is a big move. I mean, you just made the Eastern Conference Finals. You're going to go in a different philosophy in the way that your team is ran on the court. You're going to move in a different direction, obviously. I would like to hear something. I mean, they put out the statement. I guess he would say that is my statement, but I would like to hear something and questions like, okay, but what kind of, all right, he just made the Eastern Conference Finals. What kind of coach are you looking for? Even if he's not going to talk specifics about the reasons why, what kind of coach are you looking for? Things like that. I would like to hear stuff like that. But this is Stephen A. Smith and just his thoughts on Thibodeau's firing.
Tom Thibodeau. Why the hell is he out of a job? Again. He's not flawless. Again. There have been times where I've been critical of Tom Thibodeau, no doubt. But for him to guide the Knicks as deep as they did, for him to upend Boston, and I want to hear about no injury to Jason Tatum because Jason Tatum went down with about a couple of minutes left in Game 3, and the Knicks were about to go up 3-1. And he was healthy when the Knicks beat Boston Games 1 and 2 in Boston of that Eastern Conference semifinal series. So I'm looking at all of that, and I'm saying, yo, we got to call it like it is. We got to call it like he see it. Look at the roster of the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive-minded coach. Is it possible? Is it plausible? Does it make sense, ladies and gentlemen, for us to look at Leon Rose and the New York Knicks and say, yo, you kind of compromised him because he's a defensive-minded coach, and that you kept Hartenstein and a Julius Randle and a Dante DiVincenzo and your picks. You could have got this far, and you'd be in a better position to go out there and, let's say, get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. But the likelihood of that happening is slim now. And it's just something about it that don't feel right, that don't seem right.
So that's Stephen A. Smith. I think he made some good points there. We talked about the roster earlier, right? And you making the change right before training camp after you've had months of preparing with one roster, Randall, DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, OG, Brunson, Hart, Mitch, Deuce, right? You have this roster that you're preparing for, and then on the drop of a dime before training camp, you got a new roster. And you have to now figure out a new player that's not the same as Julius Randle. You don't have DiVincenzo anymore. Now you got to figure out, okay, how do we work with these guys? And that's the biggest reason why I thought it would be one more year, at least.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you get a chance. All right, we seen what we had. We added, more pieces, and now, I can figure out what to do with these guys.
Sam, do you think another year, though, would have changed schematically? Like, do you think over the summer Thibodeau would have said, you know what? I got to figure out a better offense. Given what I saw against Indiana, I got to figure out a better way to get Brunson involved on and off the ball. I got to figure out a way to create some synergy offensively between Cat and Towns. Yeah. Do you think, because his thing is 2 to the ball. Once you get 2 to the ball, the team is going to be in rotation. Just find the open guy.
Right.
Right. That's his thing. Whether you create that advantage, it was easier with Randall, right? Well, you had another option with Randall because you had that double team.
Yeah.
And so that got you 2 to the ball. Brunson, with his ability to get in the game, got you 2 to the ball. And then they would just play off of that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because Towns could command a double team as well. I'm not sure and he could pass too. didn't work as well with Cat. So my point is, do you think he would have been better schematically if we gave him one more year? My question.
I think he would have tried, right? I think just from the way that I see him coach, like we talk about, he makes adjustments game to game, right? Not really in game. He's a game to game adjuster, and he does good. I think it's kind of like that season to season too. You know, like I go back and I see the entire season, and I see some things that worked, some things that didn't. All right, well, let me try this, because I think we've seen it with Hartenstein, right? The first year he didn't really use him that well, but then the second year you started to see him passing the ball off the post more, you know, and guys cutting off of that, you know, and started to see more synergy using Hartenstein. So I think for a lot of people that's too slow though. That's too slow of an adjustment, right? You know, I gotta wait till next year until you learn how to use them. You know, when you've already had them for 60 games. How come, you know, you haven't figured that out yet? So for a lot of people, that might be too slow. You know, just might be too slow. And then, and it's true, you know, the offense is pretty much going to be the same. You know, pretty much going to be the same things. You know, with some wrinkles in it. You know, predictable.
You got to be able to get Brunson open. Like, that was my main thing. When I saw Brunson in Game 6, I was like, "Yo, we don't have nothing for that," you know. So
I can say it's going to be exciting to see what a new coach brings and how he uses the players, though. That's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually optimistic about this. You know, if it's Johnny Bryant, then cool. I'm just trying to think of like other options out there. I've heard that if they're looking for somebody with experience, I've heard the name Budenholzer
Tom
being thrown
Thibodeau.
around.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, my bad.
I'm about to say, somebody want Thibodeau back?
Right.
We were just kidding. We wanted to mess up the finals. Report Todd, we're not really firing you.
Yeah, I've heard those names out there. I've heard Frank Vogel's name kind of being thrown out there as well. I just don't know how much they can put in a trade package for a coach. Like, I've heard that idea too, but I just don't know that they're able to go down that road.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, they need permission from the front office first anyway to speak to a coach that already has a job.
I see.
I don't know, man.
Unless they go through back channels first to see if the coach is interested, and then go to the front office. You know how these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Second round.
It's absolutely no way it can be Rick Brunson, though, right?
No,
I would be shocked, but
Brunson, man.
I agree. It can't be him.
It's not Rick.
Brunson is not going to want that. Like, I don't want that smoke. I don't want my father coaching a team. Now, everything that happened, people pissed off. They can't say anything to me, you know, because that's my dad. And, you know, everybody quiet in the locker room because they pissed off with Rick, but they don't want to say anything. Nah.
Yeah. Too much of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else on staff who you think should be interviewed?
Nah, I don't know. No.
I don't think so. I don't think the staff is particularly impressive, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Is some of that staff coming back though?
We'll see. We'll see what that, you know, with the head coach, you know, whoever the head coach is, you know, they're going to get, I mean, Rick Brunson is probably coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He gonna be like Williams.
Jay Wright,
remember Williams? No matter who the coach was.
Like Herb Williams.
Herb Williams.
No matter who the coach was, Herb Williams was there.
Is Jay Wright a possibility?
If he wanted to coach, I think that the Knicks would listen. I think that would be it. I don't think Wright has any interest in coaching in the NBA, but if he did, I think that the Knicks would listen to it. I'm not saying that's wise, but I think that the Knicks would entertain the possibility.
Yeah. Well, let me give you the names that's in this athletic article. Dave Bliss, the assistant coach for OKC, who helped devise their defense. He was one of the finalists for the Phoenix job as well. And he was I think he was a player development coach with Derek Fisher and Jeff Hornacek. James Borrego, he's an assistant coach with the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Bryant, who we've talked about. Mike Brown. Not feeling Mike Brown, though. Those are the four that they have in the athletic article.
Didn't Borrego used to be the head coach of Memphis or something?
Somebody. Yeah,
wasn't it Charlotte?
I don't know. I thought he was a head coach somewhere. I didn't know where.
It was the last season he was in Charlotte. He won 43 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has as many NBA championships as a head coach as Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Whoever they bring in is going to have 0 championships. So, that's not going to matter much.
Right.
Unless they bring in Budenholzer or Frank Vogel. Or Mike Malone, for that matter.
Or Mike Malone, right.
And it doesn't sound like Malone is on the radar, from my understanding. I don't know about Vogel.
I heard Steve Nash too. Like when you see these things on Twitter,
hell no.
That Hart and Brunson and a few other players have been pushing for him for weeks.
For Steve Nash. For Steve Nash?
I mean, you in the playoffs and you pushing for
Steve. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
No way. Hell no.
No way.
I don't want no Steve Nash.
And pushing for Steve Nash? No.
Yeah.
Taylor Jenkins.
I just thought of an interesting name. Would y'all consider Monty Williams?
Jeff brought that up.
Yeah, we was talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd interview him at the very least.
Yeah. Played for the Knicks.
I mean, he's taken his team to the finals. He's proven, and I've seen him coach the Suns in the playoffs a couple times. He's been able to make adjustments in some of them series. So he could be a guy to be on the lookout for.
Yeah. What about Chris Quinn with Miami?
The assistant?
I mean, if we're not going for those with championship, if we're not going for head coaches,
I don't know much about it. I would have to research that. But if you think he's a good candidate, I'll take your word for it.
I'm just throwing names from the article, Jeff.
Okay.
I'm just throwing out names from the article. I don't know.
Well, I'd feel better about Chris Quinn if you gave him your endorsement. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no. And Jeff Van Gundy, forget it. Jeff Van Gundy.
No.
That's Thibodeau incarnate. They are bringing in
Nah.
Exactly. No, right. I mean, same thing. Same guy, same person.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, Trey, I appreciate you, man.
Great call, man.
Yeah, it's going on 4 hours. I'm about
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm surprised to see y'all still on. I just wrapped up my podcast about an hour ago.
Going on 4 hours, and everybody's still here.
Yeah. Hey, it's a good reason to be on 4 hours.
Everybody's still here.
Yeah. Going on 4 hours. Appreciate you, Trey.
Yep, no doubt, y'all.
Right.
Y'all have a good one.
No doubt. Peace. Yeah, people gonna start calling me Tom Thibodeau.
Right.
Robert Brown, thank you for the super chat. He said, "Trust the process. We want Johnny. Let's go Knicks." You know, I mean, listen, I'm not if they hire Johnny Bryant, I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna you know, I'm gonna support him, and I'm gonna hope he does the best. I'm never gonna, you know, try to, you know, purposely just berate him or do whatever. You know, I want the Knicks to win a championship. So, you know, and I do trust the front office. I'll say that. I trust the front office. I trust the decisions that they make. The coolest. I'm not hiring Patrick Ewing. I don't think he's the tactician that you're probably looking for. Now, Jay Stackhouse is interesting. You know, he could be interesting. But you know, I'm going to support whoever they hire. I'm going to support. But I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking with a critical eye because they got some big shoes to fill. You know, caller, you're live. Name me where you're from, please.
It's Tim. Am I on?
Yes, sir. You're on.
Hey, De La Music. Herb from Brooklyn. My son and I came to watch the game with you brothers.
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
How you doing?
How you feeling?
I'm doing well. It's good to see y'all, man.
Yeah. Great to hear from you.
Great to see you. Hey, not gonna keep you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if you guys talked about Sam Cassell, but he's been a winner all his career as a player and an assistant coach. He's been on championship teams as a player and an assistant coach. He's sitting on the bench of a great organization, the Boston Celtics. What do you think about him? I may have missed a discussion. Maybe you could just bring me in.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he knows the league. He's been an assistant coach for a while. You know what I'm saying? I've only heard good things about him, but you know, it's kind of the same with Johnny Bryant. We don't know what he can do as a head coach. You know, he'd be a new head coach. You know what I mean? But he's definitely, you know, he's been around the league forever, so you know he at least understands that part of it.
That's why I like him, because he's been around. He has experience. He's seen a lot. So, I mean, when you look at the other candidates, you know, if you want to go with somebody that hasn't been a head coach, I think he would be probably up there because of the experiences that he has, because of the successes he has.
Say
Don't
that
you
again?
think, though, if we're going to go with a guy without experience, that we would choose the guy who knows our players in Bryant rather than someone who's an outsider like Cassell?
Right.
That's a good point, but Cassell, to me, looks like a player's coach. You know, if you look at his career, he looks like he could communicate with the guys. And again, he's on a great organization with Boston. He's been, I believe, in Houston. I mean, wherever he's been successful. I would at least like to hear him in an interview.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's one of the guys like Sim was talking about. Doesn't necessarily get the head coaching job, but maybe you bring him in as a top assistant or something.
Right.
I hear that, but you know, I mean, look at Tibbs. He was a great assistant too, and he had an opportunity. Udoka, you know, Udoka's replacement. I mean, we have to think outside the box at this point. The league has changed, and we want somebody that can change with the league. And I think Cassell is a good candidate. You know, it's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's gonna be a lot over the next couple of days into weeks, as long as it takes for the Knicks to hire somebody. You know, gonna be a lot of thoughts out there from everyone. So
all right. Well,
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye, but thoughts and prayers for Mark Jackson. I would really love him.
You said you would really love Mark Jackson?
I would really love Mark Jackson, but we know that ain't going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
But let me ask you, this, because a lot of people want Mark Jackson. He's been out of coaching for a while, right? How easy is it for him to come in and just pick up with?
he's been in the broadcast booth. I know that wasn't mean much, but he has, from being in the broadcast booth, that means he's like a person that's always there. He's seen the players. He knows how to make the adjustments. And don't forget who built Frankenstein.
Who built what?
Frankenstein out in Golden State.
Oh, I mean, yeah. That was a while ago. I mean, can he? Do you want someone who is relatable to the players? I don't know if that's Mark Jackson.
Oh well, I don't know. I think the knucklehead. What's his name? Oh man, the guy in Golden State. Who's the knucklehead again? I'm sorry,
Draymond?
I'm old.
Draymond?
Green.
Uh-huh.
Green speaks very highly of him. Curry speaks very highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
Thompson speaks very highly of him. Hey, we got to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I don't think Mark Jackson's going to be in the running.
No. I know. That's why I said thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Herb, I appreciate it, man.
Man, I love you, Sims. I hope to see you
back,
guys back in Maryland for the games next year. I had to take a year off. I ran into Walter a couple of times this year, man.
Yeah? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, man. But hope to get together with you guys again, man. Be well, brother. Peace out.
Peace.
All right, peace.
All right, I'm gonna get to this
I
last.
got it.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to this last super chat, and then I'm gonna run as well because it's 4 hours. I don't remember the last time I did a 4-hour show.
I didn't even know it was that long.
You turn into Uncle Freezy, not Tom Thibodeau.
Right.
I don't know when the last time I did this. Shoot. Jason, thank you for the super chat. He said Leon has made knee-jerk decisions, in my opinion, so far. You think so?
Hasn't made.
Oh, hasn't. Okay, hasn't made knee-jerk. Okay, good. Tibbs is his boy, but yet still fires him. Bryant, I think, is the obvious choice, best candidate, in my opinion. Okay.
Maybe right.
Yeah, maybe right. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, Steph, Jeff, thank you for staying on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's always an honor to be on with you, man.
I appreciate you. Been a long show, but I'm going to go rest for the night. Thank you for everybody who called in, super chats, made comments. Everybody, we definitely appreciate you. But we're heading out for the night, folks.
Sure.
So have a great night, and we'll see what transpires tomorrow. We're out of here. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you're feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.